From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, two-time UFC heavyweight champion, Frank Mir. With Gina on news, Paul Bryant on sound effects, and Vinnie Tortorich drops by, and now he's not okay with you not being okay. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. A choice better get on. A mandate should get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian. What the fuck? Oh, man, did I have a gaslight, fake out, switcheroo situation yesterday.
Oh.
Oi. It's a bigger picture thing, the way people convey information. We've always talked about that. Always kind of talked about that thing where people go, send you a text, go, "Hey, we need to talk," and then that's it. And then you go, "What happened?
Good.
What happened?"
This
All
could be
these
good.
thoughts race to your head, and then they go, "What do you like in your coffee? Like whole cream or like the creamer stuff?" It's like, don't couch it that way. Delivering of news that way. There's just a cadence. I tend to like to soften it a little. Others are a little rougher around the edges. But as it pertains to that, I misplaced my credit card, and I was trying to think. Now what happened to my credit cards? I'm pretty meticulous about keeping an eye on things and putting things back where they go.
You're habitual when it comes to that stuff.
I'm habitual when it comes to that stuff. And I thought, what the hell? So I was trying to kind of trace it back, and I said, well, wait a minute. Sonny and I ate at a Chinese food restaurant. Then we went and saw a movie. I must have left it at that Chinese food restaurant. That's the last place I left it. So check with the Chinese food restaurant. No. Then I thought, well, the movie, I didn't use it to buy the ticket. I didn't go to the concession stand. I was like, well, how'd that work? And then I talked to Sonny, and he's like, well, remember you were in your seat, and I wanted to go to the concession stand, so you gave me your credit card. I was already in full recline. I was in the dentist chair.
Yeah.
And I gave him the credit card. And then he said, then I came back and I gave it to you. But then remember your phone fell out of your pocket in the full recline? We've not.
It's your worst nightmare.
Our gear has not caught up to our full recline mode we're in now.
Right.
Because back in the day, you just sit in a movie theater,
Right.
and now you recline and everything spills out because you haven't really made the adjustment.
Correct.
Zippers on pockets and whatnot. Never been a better time for the fanny pack, people. So then I thought, oh, yeah, you must have handed it back to me when I was fully reclined. I should have stood up and fetched my wallet and put it back in a while, but I probably just took it and put it in my pocket and then it slid out. So that's where it is. So I said, Sonny, get a hold of that movie theater and see if they found my credit card. And of course, he called them and nobody picked up. And then they said, send an email. And they sent an email, but they didn't respond to the email. And
It is actually really hard to get a hold of a movie theater.
It is.
If you think about it, without being there in person.
Yeah.
Mr. Movie Phone will talk to you, but that's about it.
So I said to, at some point, I said to Matt, Borson Punisher, get hold of that movie theater, see if they found that credit card. He couldn't get hold of them. And then at some point he said, you should just go in.
Yeah.
So
Sadly, yes.
It'd been enough days, so I thought I shall go in. And then I went in yesterday. And I walked in, and there was some kind of kid behind the concession stand, but he wasn't making popcorn. And I said, hey, do you guys have a lost and found? And he said, yep. And I said, well, I think I lost a credit card here. Can you go check, see if there's a credit card back there? And he said, okay. And he went into a little side office, heard a little back and forth with the manager. And then he came back and he went, what's the name on that credit card? And I said, Carolla. Spelled it out. And he went, oh, okay. Went back to the office, there for 2 minutes, little conversation, came back out. No credit cards. I was like, fuck. Because when he said, what's the name on the credit card,
just
I was like,
double-checking.
oh, we're home.
He's just verifying.
We're home.
Yeah.
He's verifying it.
Yeah.
But he broke it off into 2 pieces.
That's not right. That's not how you do that.
That isn't. I was like, I have my credit card at that moment. When he asked, what is the name?
It's as good as it
He's
is.
holding it.
Found a credit card.
ready to hand it to
He's
you.
just going to verify it. Nope.
Oh.
No.
That was like the opposite of the old American Express commercial.
That's
they won't
right.
give it to you.
So there was that. Power went out this morning.
Well, wait, before
in
we
my
move
home.
on,
Yes.
something tells me that you might not know you can do this, but I hope somebody who can use your phone went into your bank app and locked your card.
Yeah, well, we've done that.
Okay,
We've done that now. But either way,
The car's not been located?
there was has not been located.
Some kid at
And-
AMC's going on a spending spree.
I'm sure it's on the floor or it's in some pants somewhere. Either way, I'm out of time with that, so I'll replace that. Then the
Power went out.
other thing, the power went out. Worst time ever, I think. I don't know. Went off about 7:30 this morning. Like right as I was waking up, it was off. So no coffee, no TV,
water.
no
Doesn't matter to
nothing,
you.
no internet, no anything.
right.
So there was that, and then I started thinking about it. Especially in California, it's just when you pass the freeway signs, it says rolling blackouts and surge and times
Flex
and
alert.
flex alert and do your laundry at 4 a.m.
Right.
and blah blah blah. It is an interesting pitch that in California we are simultaneously the tip of the spear in pitching the electric automobile, but the grid seems more fucked up than any state in the union, which is all, by the way, it's perfect on point California messaging, right? The freeway sign, once, we're going to outlaw all new gas-powered vehicles by 2035. We're going to lead the nation and lead the world in electric cars. We're going to have electric school buses. Everything is going to be electric. And then every year, when the temperature gets over 92 degrees, they go, okay, man, now we don't have a power grid, so be
That's right.
careful.
Unplug your fridge when the sun's out.
Right.
And that's the irony. A lot of these blackouts, I was told, are because neighborhoods with a lot of Teslas and stuff who are charging their cars, the grid can't support those. So it all folds in on itself.
Right. But it is kind of the perfect storm or example of why we don't fully love government or invest or trust government, because you're telling us do this thing, get an electric car, but you guys can't manage the grid.
Can't be done.
All right. So there's that little dichotomy. Yeah, I was at a mall in I don't know, Hidden Hills or Thousand Oaks or something. There was a row of Tesla chargers. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I mean, there were 30 Tesla chargers in this mall.
Maybe not to that degree, but I've seen they're more and more.
Like at Whole Foods.
Especially on the west side.
Yeah, this one had a bank of them. I mean, literally over 20 and maybe under 35. But if you also, it's a have and a have-nots, as we always said. Gas is now $5 a gallon. So if you're driving a truck and you're a gardener or you're spreading stucco for a living and you're a poor Mexican, you are shit out of luck. But if you live next to the Kardashians and you drive the loaded Tesla, you'll never pay for fuel again. You can literally just pull into that
Hang at the
mall.
mall.
It's got a Starbucks and the whole food court and everything. Just plug it in. I mean, you could do that twice a week. You would never pay another penny for fuel, essentially.
Crime.
They're always trying to incentivize people to do the electric car thing, right? With you get into the carpool lane, or you get rebates on your battery or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. The real one for LA is going to be the people who get that parking, better parking,
Oh, yeah.
closer to the entrance.
We have a reply. I told Chris to reach out to Danny Two Sheets about the Menage a Trois Ooh La La story from Vegas. And we'll ask, Vinnie and Frank Mir are going to be two guys to ask about how they would roll with their Menage breakdown versus taking the 8 in the hand. But as usual, my memory was a little fuzzy. It turns out it wasn't Daniel, it was Jimmy. Okay. Now, we're all sitting at the same bar getting drunk, so, wasn't exactly the light of day. But he replied this way.
Yeah, so I just basically said the story. I wanted his side, and he says, okay, as much as it sounds exactly like me and something I'd get an intern to do.
That's the next thing, too. when shit sounds like exactly like something you would do, sometimes it can get transferred. That's a
Applied to
little,
you, yeah.
a little more of a Daniel-esque
Right.
move than it was a Jimmy-esque move.
Yeah, he did a tangent. I did once pay a fat, shit-faced intern at a Crank Yankers Christmas party $20 to take his shirt off and stand on top of a table and then announce to everyone what he just angrily whispered in my ear, which was, "You and Jimmy and Adam get all the credit, but we do all the work."
So he takes his shirt off and he's sloppy drunk
Hear
and he
ye,
yells,
hear ye.
he yells that at
Town
everyone
crier.
at the party.
Daniel says, "I'll never forget the look of horror on our line producer's face when that happened." But anyway, regarding this gem, I had to check with Jimmy and Sal to see if they had a better memory, and they did, because it was, in fact, Jimmy who got him to say it. Let me say this, as Jimmy has gotten full credit over the years for the Natalie Maines prank, despite my very significant contributions.
Wow.
It only seems fair that this is accredited to me, but I can't in good conscience accept this stolen valor. Alas, it was Kimmel.
A man of honor.
Wow, you don't see that
Yeah.
much these days.
Well read. Well put.
All right, so we got that straightened out. Let's see. We got... I wrote this down. No one ever agrees with me on this particular subject, but I was got myself a glass of water, put the filtered water in it, from the spigot thing with the filter built in. It probably hasn't been changed in 31 years.
Doing more
What?
damage than
Well,
the
I
I
actual
always use that
pipes.
one.
I was taking hits off it, and it smelled just like a sponge. And I've had it happen a million times where I've taken a coffee mug out of the rack and started to put something in it and
Yeah.
started foaming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
I've also gotten a lot of
What-
sponge.
Wait, foam and sponge would indicate there's something with the glass.
Yeah, it says soap in it.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying there's something with the filter. So I thought you
Oh,
were-
sorry. No, the
So 'cause you
filter.
lied with the filter, not
yeah,
Like a
it's-
mildewy
it's
sponge.
Sorry.
The glass had the
Yeah.
sponge.
A little
and
frothy at the top.
I've always said I really think the cleaning is more harm than good because it's not executed correctly.
Right.
They take the stuff, they squirt it in, they rinse it out, they put it in the thing, and then the next time you pour something in it starts to foam up because there's residue. The sponges go south and get weird and mildewy
Quickly.
and shitty. And all I'm saying is if you have a glass and the last thing that was in that glass was probably water, possibly a juice of some sort, but around here it's probably water, bubbly water, or something like that. Just give it a good rinse with hot water and put it back in the rack. Getting the sponge involved and the soap involved, too many chances for things to go wrong.
Yeah.
I'm more on your side than you think I would be. The one thing I would add is give the rim a little wash. Someone's lips have been there. Someone's been all over this thing. Just give the rim a little wash.
It's funny. Brian's right. For me,
It's the lipstick quotient that
that's
screws
what
it
I
up.
do. I
Right.
just rinse it out and I just take a paper towel and just squeegee that lipstick off.
All right. We've crossed a new threshold in society as it pertains to podcasting. I don't know if you found that commercial, Max Zapata, but I've said it a million times, study the commercials and see where we're at as a society because they're a little snapshot, but also commercials can't be confusing. They have to you can't go, what are those people doing? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that activity is. Then
You have to understand
traditionally
the message.
they would show people in the kitchen
Right.
cooking, and then they'd talk about life insurance, or
Right.
they would have them sitting on a swing out in the yard drinking coffee, and they would talk about some pharmaceutical
Sure.
or something, or riding a bike or something like that. I'm going to make this prediction. By the way, all couples are now mixed on television. Right now, we're at a stage in 2021 where when the kids are involved, they're a mixture of the couple.
Sure.
I say coming soon, white woman, black man, Asian kids. I think that's going to be the next one.
Interesting.
That's right, because there's a spot open.
Right.
We can get an ethnicity in there.
Wow.
Or they'll be wearing my new invention, which is the gay vest.
Excuse me?
How does that work?
Well, like they take pictures and they talk about diversity and all that kind of stuff, but we can't tell who's gay. We can see the black guy and the
sure,
white
sure.
guy and the guy in the wheelchair, but we can't We see
Right.
the blind guy's got the dog, but we can't tell who's gay.
Aside
Right.
from very offensive mincing or something, some nonsense.
Yeah, I'm just on like a company photo or
Yeah,
something like that.
You know, this has been tried in history before.
Gay vest?
Close.
Just
Making
indicating,
Jews wear
yeah.
yellow stars. I don't think this is
Okay,
going
gay star.
Yeah, well, no, we're making rainbow
That's
stars, Gina.
absolutely not what I was
Rainbow
suggesting.
star. I'm going with Gina's
Great idea,
ideas.
Gina.
Yeah. All
Why
right.
the Jews secured the yellow star. It's off limits.
So, in the annals of the zeitgeist of America, I was watching. I'll do you guys one better if you want to really like kind of study humanity in our society. Watch TV commercials with the sound down.
Ooh.
You weirdly pick up more. You can just see. You just sort of focus
Makes
on
sense.
what's going on. I was sitting in a restaurant. They had the All-Star game up, and a commercial ran, but of course, no sound. It was in a restaurant. I was just studying this commercial. I'll run you the commercial. I think it was for Humira. I think it was whatever, psoriasis or
Like Crohn's disease.
Crohn's disease.
Oh,
Yeah, everyone's
that's a
got
tough one.
got something going on with the bowels
Yeah.
these days. It's a white chick, 28. She's opening her garage. Sorry, you can go ahead and play.
Like many people with moderate to severe ulcerative
Wow.
colitis
Got her
or
mixed
Crohn's
friend
disease,
with her.
I was there.
Doing a podcast.
Be right back.
She's got to take a dump.
But her symptoms
Later on, her
were
black
keeping me
friend
from
gets
where
to
I
eat
needed
fried
be.
food, and she doesn't. And it's the
Christina and Katie show.
I talked
Kristen-
to my doctor
Christina and
learned
Katie show.
Humira is for people who
podcast
have
one's
going
to pick that up pretty soon.
They're on
And
next.
Humira
They're in the
helps people
garage.
Oh, they have an on-air
that can last. So
I
if
think
you
some old
experience
set
few
director
or
probably
more
put that in
symptoms,
there.
How are we going to know they podcast if there's no on-air sign?
I love that they're sitting next to each other in
They're
the garage.
sitting next to each other, talking about problems.
With
Puffer
nobody in there.
stoppers.
Serious allergic
Leave the
reactions
door
and
open.
worsening heart failure.
Is this a
Plenty of
lesbian
doctors have
couple,
been
by the
to
way?
certain
Because they're
I don't
spending
know,
a
but-
lot of time together.
I want in on this day. This seems like
Yeah.
a lovely day.
Now they're eating burgers.
Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
In like their
Maybe they are a
greenhouse.
couple.
And then
I love that
ask your
podcasting has made this
gastroenterologist about
journey
Humira.
into
With Humira,
mainstream
the mission is-
medication commercials. The one activity that would not hurt you to just stop anytime and
Yeah.
go crap is podcasting.
Right.
You know, live broadcasting on the air, it's on dead air. It's like, oh, pick this up in 20 minutes.
Yeah, put them on a climbing wall.
Yeah.
And have like the instructor
Yes.
under them holding the rope, you know?
That's when you need Humira.
That's when the look
Yep.
hits,
Yeah,
right?
this is easy enough to push pause.
Yeah, it's true. You need to pick an activity. You know, they have these people, sometimes they go like, oh, she's gardening. And they're like, oh, boy, I got to go
bubble
back
guts.
inside.
Can't
But it's
stop
like,
that.
you're gardening. You're
Yeah.
fine. The bulbs will wait.
So what we should be inferring
Hold on, I got to take a shit.
See? And
is
we're
that
back.
okay? So this is supposed to be like podcasting for the young folk. So do the young folk now have more rumble in the jungle than we realized? This is for young people to stop shitting themselves.
Not a good sign when, you know, people in their late 20s and early 30s
Yeah.
are having a lot of bowel-related issues. Kind of reminded me of that commercial they ran a couple of years ago where the guy was on the construction site
Oh right,
and he was too backed up
yeah,
from his pain
from his
meds.
opioids.
Oh, right, yes.
So he was strung out on opioids, hadn't had a dump in 3 weeks,
That's
and now
right.
they made another pill for him to take along with the opioids.
Well, we got
to
it all covered.
Loosen up the stool. But the fact that somebody said we need to have these, we need a tableau for these two gals to be in, and in the past it would have been hiking or
Right.
mountain bike riding or something like that.
Folding laundry.
Folding
dare
laundry.
you.
Now it's podcasting.
Wow.
And again, you can't do that stuff if everyone looks at it and goes, what the fuck
What's
is that?
that?
Are they doing a radio
Is that a
show?
small radio
studio?
I don't know what's going. So it has to be completely in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
If you're going to run it for a major pharma company and you're going to put it
Yeah.
on in prime time during the All-Star game.
We've
right?
arrived only 12 years after we started.
We've arrived. Yeah. I mean, 12 years ago, it's like people didn't know what it was, want to know what it was doing, call it a pod card. So that just struck me. And again, it's why you have to study the commercials because you'll go, oh, if you don't need to do a thing where you go, it's kind of my airport thing. Like, you know, when people talk about, oh, is the show successful? The TV shows, they get ratings, how are they doing in the demo? It's like, just go walk through the airport. If you get stopped a lot,
Yeah.
the show's successful.
Yeah.
You know, or people yell, hey, man, show out the car window, then it's successful. you could crunch all the numbers you want and go, well, 72% of Americans say they know what a podcast is, and 61% say they listen more than once a week. Or what? You can do all that you want, or you can just turn on the TV and see it in a commercial and go, okay, it's here.
Yeah, something we can all relate to.
That is something I've noticed. All right. We have a couple of stories. There's an article. I heard a story. Rapper walked out of jail, essentially, made it to the curb in Chicago and was met by some friends.
Oh, that's
You
nice.
have that story?
Rapper shot as many as 64 times as he walked out of Chicago jail.
64. Max Patty, your body couldn't hold 64
No,
bullets.
that would disintegrate me.
Yes.
Do mile.
A man who was apparently ambushed after being released from the Cook County Jail in Chicago suffered as many as 64 bullet wounds to his head and other parts of his body, police said. The shooting
And
Saturday
we'll do
night.
the math on other parts of the body. I mean, once you've shot 64 times, we get
There's
it.
no head left.
Other parts.
The shooting Saturday night killed Londre Sylvester, 31, a police report said. He was pronounced dead at a hospital. NBC Chicago reported the victim was a local rapper who went by the stage name KTS Dre. Sylvester had just been released after being fitted for an electronic monitoring and was walking to a waiting vehicle when several suspects exited two separate vehicles and all began to shoot in Sylvester's direction.
Sonny Corleone shit.
Let me ask this about the being fitted with the monitoring, the ankle monitor. I don't know what protocol is. If the ankle monitor is still in good shape as a taxpayer, I'd like it put back into the system.
Sure.
Lightly used.
But it could have been
Gently
hit with a
loved.
couple
Caught
of
us
you shot
stray.
64 times. But if it's in good shape, on the other hand, you know, when you sell a house and someone committed suicide in the house, you have
Gotta
to
disclose
have to
it.
disclose it.
Yep.
Doesn't feel like a weird haunted ankle monitor, like the next guy that gets that ankle monitor.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something you need to know about this ankle monitor. Really? Is it heavy? No.
Right. Now, you may get lucky and only get shot 41 times if you wear it. Sorry.
The killing comes amid a rise in shootings this year in Chicago and broader concerns nationwide about increasing violence. On Monday, Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown was among city and law enforcement leaders from around the United States meeting with President Joe Biden about efforts to reduce crime. Following Saturday night's shooting, the suspects re-entered their vehicles and fled the scene. A 60-year-old woman who was with Sylvester was shot in one of her knees and was hospitalized in good condition.
Good aim.
A second woman who was in her 30s suffered a graze wound to her mouth.
Really good aim.
Oh,
Sylvester had posted $5,000 bail on Friday. He had been held on $50,000 bail on July 1st after prosecutors last month hit him with a petition for violation of bail bond for allegedly failing to meet the conditions of his release in a 2020 felony gun case.
All right. Well,
so you're sending a clear message when it's 64 bullets.
I'm guessing. The point is I'm with Biden. We got to get these white supremacists off the street because it's turning into a killing field over there. All right. I just thought it was bizarre that he was shot 64 times. But again, I think that's probably gang related.
I'd have to imagine there was
There
some...
you go, profiling again.
Probably sending a message. All right. Vinny's going to come in. Vinny is going to... and we have the final poll, by the way, on our Menage a Trois Ooh La La poll, right?
Yeah.
Got the final numbers in on that. First, I'll tell you, we'll get into that in a second. First, I just want to tell you about O'Reilly. I think Matt had a little O'Reilly situation today.
Yeah, you know, the last couple days I noticed my car was not really starting as quickly as it normally would. It was just kind of revving a couple times and then it would engage. And I really wasn't sure what to do. And then this morning, woke up, went out to the car, wouldn't start. Dead battery. So thankfully, I've been listening to the podcast and know we have a relationship with O'Reilly. So I had my wife drive me right around the corner, worked with the guys there, told them the make and model of the car.
Hold on, you let your wife drive? Yeah. Come on.
It was dangerous, just going around the corner there.
Desperate man.
Yeah,
You know who I
exactly. But no, it was really, really helpful. And the guys gave me an O'Reilly Super Start battery and explained how to swap it out. And it was easy enough, even I could do it. And I was a little late for work, but thankfully didn't take too much time. So thank you very much to O'Reilly. And I'm looking forward to driving around town in that Super Start battery.
sorry about docking you, but rules are rules. I don't want other people to know it's okay to do that.
Mixed message.
All right.
Make an exception once.
Thank you for that, Matt. Let's see. Should we? Maybe we should take a break, and then we'll do the Vinnie, and we'll give you the poll. And obviously, Vinnie's got all the stuff he wants to talk about as well. We'll get into that. I heard him talking to Gina about blood sugar monitoring and all that as she heads to the final stretch for the wedding day.
Yeah.
We'll do all that right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Ace Man, got a wedding coming up. I need an introduction song. You know, one where they say, please welcome Mr. and Mrs. What you got?
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Alice Cooper's Only Women Bleed. That would be my introduction
Get
song.
hype, everyone.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird, soft Alice Cooper song that... Is that you, Dawson, or is that... Wow. Such a weird Alice Cooper song.
Is this like mid Alice Cooper when he's like, you know, with the makeup and everything?
Yeah.
And Frankenstein and all that shit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Take a seat.
Take a seat in the hair.
He got the power, oh, she got the need.
Wow.
She spends her life through pleasing up a man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Feeds
Take a
dinner,
note.
oh, anything she can.
Blue-eyed soul.
She cries alone at night too often.
Yeah.
He smokes and drinks and don't come home at all.
That's the greatest entry song ever. Hey, Gina.
Yeah, I'm writing this
You
down.
got a wedding coming.
Only women bleed.
I'm definitely bumping the song we had in mind.
Soul versus
Only
Jackson
women
Brown.
bleed. Man makes your hair gray.
Presenting!
He's your life's mistake.
Makes
Please
your hair
welcome.
gray.
All you're really looking for's an even break.
Wow. Simpler
He
times.
lies right at you.
Not even a
You
good
know you
song.
hate this
This
game.
song was charted.
Does this kick
Slaps
in
you
eventually?
once in a while and you
Nah,
this is it.
this is
Oh,
it.
boy.
It's kicked.
The drums signaled, you know, the crescendo.
Too often.
This would be a lot of these 70s
Smokes
songs.
and drinks and don't come home at all.
Well, who cares if he smokes and he's never coming home? You know, it's not like it's...
Well, you needed a ballad in the 70s.
Right.
That was the thing. To get on FM radio, you needed
Right.
a ballad.
Well, the band's got to go backstage to know the concert. But,
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Refuel.
Can't remember how it turned out for her. At some point in these
Orchestra.
songs, the chick
Strings?
makes a comeback. Like she musters
Right.
the
Not
strength.
here.
She empowers
looks him in the
herself.
eye.
This is not a
No.
country and western song. It stays right
There's
here.
no coming back from this?
No coming back.
All right, let's see.
Black eyes all of the time.
Black
Don't
eyes.
spend a dime. Clean up this grime and you there down on your knees, begging me please come watch me bleed.
This is a very unhealthy relationship.
Was Alice listening to a lot of Neil Diamond at this point?
I have no... I'm sure
Neil
somebody
Astor.
wrote this and told them to do
It has a very Tommy the Musical vibe.
Yeah. Hey, Alice, you know how you can't sing? I wrote a song for you.
Bread used to do a lot of this, too.
Oh, Brad's the number one.
Yeah, they did a lot of this.
Is that Baby
Crap.
I'ma Want You?
No, that wasn't bread.
But Brad, oh, maybe that is Brad. But Brad was the pussy whipped version of this. They
Big
were
time.
on the wrong side of the belt.
Written by Alice Cooper.
Oh no!
Only women bleed.
Now he had to do this in concert because it was a big hit of his. But he had to do it with a snake around his neck,
Right.
like sitting in a guillotine chair. You know what I mean? Like,
Riding crop under his arm.
yeah,
Right.
like at some point he had to do this
Yeah.
song.
The people demand it.
He couldn't go in the back and wipe up all the kabuki makeup and put
No.
the snake back in the cage. Like he had to just do it wearing his, black studded chaps and his vest and everything.
Yeah.
Ike and Tina Turner covered this?
Oh, that I
Wow.
believe.
Wow.
That is autobiographical.
That is really leaning in. Hiding
Yeah.
in plain sight.
Maybe that was a cry for help from Ida Mae.
Well, Ike may have sued him for some sort of copyright infringement. Like, hey, I was
This is
beating
my story.
Yeah, this is my story.
I own this story.
If I find
Right.
out they were on tour together and Alice was inspired by watching Ike and Tina, I'm going to lose my mind.
If Ike had said anything, or if Alice Cooper had said anything like, I beat her with a boot, then Ike would have stepped in and said, wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
this is
my-
purely
my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so by the way, lyrically super lazy. Like when she goes, she makes him dinner or something. It's like, what do you mean something? It's dinner.
That's right up there with If I Was a Painter, but then again, no.
Well, wait a minute. How about this is the guy who did We Can't Think of a Word That Rhymes. That's a lyric in the song.
Oh, yeah.
School's Out.
Oh, really? Does he say that in
Dawson.
School's Out?
Come on, buddy.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We got no principles.
A sculptor.
We can't think of a word that rhymes.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. I didn't know that was in there.
Lots and lots of words that rhyme. Principle.
Invincible.
Invincible.
This was also on Freedom Rock, man.
Oh, yeah. They just play the shit out of this around the middle of June every year because that meant we were leaving.
The song should be buried in a box and never played.
I know. And then he's like, school's out forever. But what is it? He just said it was out for summer. Like, I'm in the 8th grade. I got to go back.
Yeah.
So there's no
Unless you're a
sweatshop I can get a gig
senior.
at.
So you were looking at this as instruction? Wait, forever? Meaning I don't have to go back?
Oh, that is how he looked at it.
He declared it was out for the summer, and then he said it's
He
forever.
doubled down on it forever.
He should never run a small business because he'd put that sign up that said out for lunch, and the next would say out forever.
Yeah. Be back at, and the thing just spins forever.
Remember you'd go to businesses and they'd be out for lunch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quaint.
Kind of miss that.
Back at whatever it was, 1 o'clock.
So he's got no principal, and he's got no principles, I think is what he said.
Oh,
Is that what he
okay.
says?
Let's listen. Oh, we can't think of a word that rhymes with innocence, I guess, or principle. Wow, I never even heard that part of this song.
Those are two very eminently rhymable words.
I always
For a
tune this
professional
song out.
songwriter.
Anyway, Vinnie Tortorich is here, everyone. Documentary, Fat, a Documentary 2 is where you go. It's available now on Amazon Prime Video and iTunes as well. Vinnie, we got the polling for the Menage a Trois. We have the hypothetical question for you. You're a man of exquisite passion, so I think you're uniquely suited to answer this.
We should establish if Vinny's had a menage a trois.
Oh, yes.
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 Okay.
Okay.
No more follow-up questions.
What year was this?
Circa 93, conch shell era.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like the Up All Night, that era.
That era.
Yeah.
Could have been some of those. This or that. I don't know.
Do you remember that show, the Rhonda Shear Up All Night on USA?
Yes, I
And
remember
Vinny would
that.
appear on like the bed in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, Up All Night. Yeah.
Rhonda
all
was a
night.
friend, still
Right.
a friend, and they were short on material. And I was living over on Doheny, and they would record that somewhere, just on the other side of West Hollywood. And she was like, "Get over here," and I'm like, "I'm in for." And she said, "Get over here. We need material." They never gave me a script. They never did anything. And as a matter of fact, they would tell me when I spoke to speak really loudly because there was only a boom mic.
Yeah, no lavs.
Yeah, and there was no material ever.
Yeah, that show she was a bubbly blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And would she run movies?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, because remember, then Gilbert Godfrey took over for her, right?
No.
Or is that a different
she
one?
do interstitials?
No, they would. Yeah, it was interstitials. She would do it one week. The very next week, Gilbert Godfrey would do it.
I was way off.
And then, then it wasn't like
No,
one took
no,
over
no,
for
no.
the other.
Right.
They would switch off every week, and she would have that's how I met the Barbie twins.
Oh, the Barbie twins.
Yeah, it was like all of these type of people that would run in and out, and then after the show, we would all go somewhere, limo, and do the whole thing. And but what people don't know about Rhonda Shear is she was originally from New Orleans, very smart woman. She was a brunette. She might have been Miss Louisiana, very smart. Almost won some election. I want to say representative or something like that. And then came to Hollywood as a flat-chested brunette. She ended up on like Happy Days as, whenever Fonzie would, click his fingers, she would be one of the girls that would run up. Never really got a career going until she bolted on a set of boobs and did the blonde hair and acted like a bimbo and then ended up on The Tonight Show.
She, that was, trying to think where Elvira factors into this era. Is that
around the same time?
So it's like chicks with cleavage doing interstitial late night shows where they'd show a movie.
Late 80s,
right?
early 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Did she have a line of bras? Because when bras comes up.
Yes. Rhonda became very wealthy by doing, QVC type stuff. Rhonda Shear,
first off,
girdles and
can I say this?
All this kind of stuff.
I'm so jealous. The reason I'm jealous is because there's no version of this where it's like, well, Adam worked construction, he was a knock-around guy, and then he got the calf implants.
Right.
Yeah.
Then he got some just for men.
That's right.
And next thing you know, he's sitting on top of a mountain of money.
But
he
realize
acted dumb.
Acted.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I wish there was a dude version of that shit. It just doesn't exist.
No, she played it. She realized she couldn't get anywhere without the tits and the hair, and she did it. And next thing you know, she just capitalized on. This might be a gross story to tell, but I'll tell it. She would get requests for soiled underwear, not just used underwear.
Yeah.
From these Japanese men and this whole thing, and that's
game worn.
That's
game worn. That's right.
And
spent.
When she saw that, she was like, wait, they want my used underwear? I'll just come out with Rhonda Shear's lingerie or whatever, bras or whatever. That's how she created that. It was just off of guys wanting to sniff her shoes and her underwear and everything else.
Maybe we could get her in on one of those Humira spots. Seems like a better than those hoes doing the fucking podcast.
That's right.
Let's get some real panty soiling going on here. Wow. And now she's where?
I have
Married
no
to
idea.
Somebody, did something.
Retired.
So you got to hang with the Barbie twins.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shane and Sia.
They were hot for a while. Remember the Barbie twins?
Again, two very smart women.
Yeah.
People think of them as these bimbo-y, very smart. And their last name was actually Barbie, and they had to go to court and fight for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they, again, when I was 27, I couldn't get one of my buddies and go, let's get calf implants, dye our hair, and we'll be the Ken twins.
Right. No.
And we'll just take over Hollywood. We'll get a big we'll get a big billboard on Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
I'll marry Ken Wall or whatever. One of those guys.
Ken Miles.
I think Shane is still married to that guy.
Was it Ken?
Ken Wall.
Yes.
Ken O'Brien.
Barbie married Ken.
That's right.
Never thought about
Match made in
that.
heaven.
That guy was like action-y, hero-y.
Ken Wall?
Yeah.
He was a baseball player who did a show about infiltrating the mafia, and it was like this incredible hit. I think his name in the show might have been Vinnie, and back in the day, we looked a lot alike in that era. Look up Ken Wall.
Ken Wall was a hit for 10 minutes. He had a hit TV show when they had those like detective shows and all that kind of stuff, the sort of 80s hunky
Hunter and such.
stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And starred in a movie, Brian. Multiple movies, but they tried to put him into a big vehicle.
Okay.
It's probably that kind of situation where you're a hunky guy, you have a hot TV show, and at some point Hollywood will take a chance on you opening a movie. But if you're Bruce Willis and it's Die Hard, it'll work out pretty good. But if it doesn't work, you don't really get another bite at that apple. He had a movie called like Escape from Beverly Hills or something, where a bunch of A Wise Guy was the name of the show.
Okay.
And The Taking of Beverly Hills was the name of a movie. It was like an action thriller. It is a kind of a Under Siege or something in Beverly Hills.
I get the idea right away. I just never heard of it.
Does he just kick in the door at Nate's? Nate Now's? Yeah.
Yeah, knocks
To a bunch of
over
scared
Larry
Jews?
King's
Yeah.
soup. That was, I don't know, circa 1986 or something. Ken Wall, The Taking of Beverly Hills.
That's funny. That completely matches the description. You know, the guy got the one shot, didn't work out, and here we are.
Got the Molotov cocktail in a champagne bottle.
Yeah.
Sir, I must have been 85 or something. All right, should we all do a Rotten Tomatoes guess on
Sure.
The Taking of Beverly Hills?
Not everyone can say 0.
All right.
Can someone say 0?
Write it.
Yes.
Write it down. Anyone can say 0.
Here.
All right. Is everyone locked in?
Yes.
Yep.
Winner of this one wins the last game we played.
Shit.
I'm going to go 23.
21.
3.
9.
The Taking of Beverly Hills does not have enough ratings.
So I think I win at 3.
The people have it a robust 37. Yeah, so one of the Barbie twins married
Shane
Ken.
Barbie did,
Okay.
yeah.
And now they're Ken and Barbie.
Wow.
Grossed $900,000, but
Their
on
calendars.
a $19 million budget,
God damn.
and it didn't make $1 million.
Wow.
Tank.
See-
You know what that is? That happens a lot when, like, that's a movie that gets buried. When, like, it gets approved by one studio head, then the other one comes in, like, we're not releasing this piece of shit, goes in at 20 theaters, and they wash their hands of the whole thing.
Yeah, and I didn't. Well, I say I don't follow Ken Wall's career, but it sounds like I do. I just have a weird memory for this shit. But again, that's a perfect example. This guy's got heat. He's on TV. He's good looking. He's popular. The ladies love him. Let him open a movie. When you put in $19 million and it doesn't do $1 million box office, you do not get to open
you're done.
other action movies. That's it. And it's kind of, it can be luck of the draw. It can just be, shitty script, shitty director, whatever.
Right.
But if you can get out of the gate with an Under Siege or a Die Hard or something, then you can keep going.
Die Hard's a great example because, of course, Bruce Willis famous for Moonlighting, and then he was the sort of anti-Stallone and Schwarzenegger. He wasn't buff. He was like this wisecracking guy, and it worked.
Robert Davi, our own Robert Davi,
Oh.
was in that. All right. Oh, and Pam Anderson in her first
Whoa.
film
Oh,
role.
shit.
Now I got to see
I bet
this.
she looked different.
So,
Like Rhonda Shear, Angeline, Barbie twins, Elvira, like they had a moment, what exactly do you do? Who cares?
Didn't the Barbie
You're
twins
cute.
go on Stern a lot? Was I making that
That sounds
up?
about right.
I'm going to turn it to health and fitness and the Barbie twins for a second. Those girls suffered from bulimia, anorexia, and they were also exercise bulimics, where they would eat something and then go to the stairs in Santa Monica and run all night long,
Work it
up and down
off.
the stairs, all night. When I say all night long, they would just go up and down. And that's where, after I met Shane and Sia on the set at Rhonda's show with the hair and makeup and everything, a couple of months later, I'm going up and down the stairs, and this woman is dressed almost like a homeless woman, big baggy sweats, big T-shirt, and dark hair. And every time we went up and down, she would look at me. And say, this woman's nuts. And she was trying to get me to realize that we knew each other. And then one time on a round, she stopped me and she goes, "Vinnie." And I said, "Yeah, who are you?" And she, "Shane." "Shane who?" "Shane Barbie." I had no idea it was her. She would just go up and down. I would never recognize her without all the hair and makeup.
The Barbie twins were named Barbie. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Not knowing them, obviously,
yeah.
they sound like nice people. I didn't know them, obviously.
yeah.
They always struck me as very, very media savvy, calculated kind of creations. And what you're describing is one way on the camera, one way off.
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up in this limo one night, but they were premiering something, and it was when Tower Records, I don't know if it's still on
In Sunset.
It's all gone.
but they
Long
were
gone.
going to release something at Tower and the whole thing. And we went up and down in the limo 2 or 3 times, and they didn't see enough people standing out front waiting for them to come. They just took off. I'm like,
Wow.
but there's people, and they were like, not enough. We're done.
Hypothetical, Vinny, involving a threesome.
Not the Barbie twins.
Hang on.
In their prime, who do you nail? Who do you have the threesome with? Barbie twins or Hee-Haw twins?
Oh.
That's a no-brainer. The Hee-Haw twins.
Yeah, I knew it. Old school.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping it real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's in the spank bank.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That you kids with all your you porn and you jizz and all your you sack and all that kind of stuff. Back then, you just had Hee-Haw and you had the Hee-Haw twins.
Hang on. Throw one back at you. Hee-Haw twins or the Double Mint twins?
I feel like the Double Mint twins changed cast too much, right? Like, weren't there?
I think there were several iterations.
There were several.
But the originals went for a bit.
I'll stick with the Hee-Haw. I got to play it safe. You're not going to go wrong with the original Hee-Haw twins.
Who are the Hee-Haw twins?
The show Hee-Haw had these bubble-headed blondes that were twins.
Shane and Sia Hee-Haw?
That's all you had to do is be decent looking and have a C cup, and you two could get paid.
Was that like the hillbilly laugh-in?
Yeah.
I never watched it.
Yeah, it was a hillbilly laughing. Okay. Okay, here you go. Hee-Haw twins or the Landers sisters? Those were
Landers sisters back in the day?
Yeah, those are the two blondes that were hot sisters that would always end up on Love Boat and stuff.
That's a rough one.
And now when you go back and listen to them, they're all like incest survivors. And you hear that voice, that crazy little squeaky voice they had. There's the Landers sisters.
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see them up
They
close.
look familiar.
I might have to go.
What else? What were they? They look very familiar.
I got to be honest with you.
They did everything back then.
Were they like Fonzie's girls too? Like that?
Hang on. You take these. Show this to Adam. Adam, look at this, and I'm going to tell you to think of something.
They may have been. One of them may have been on BJ and the Bear.
Okay.
Which was a kind of a, Dukes of Hazzard about a guy who drove a truck because everything was about 18-wheelers back in the 70s. BJ and the Bear, a guy drove a truck. The Bear was the name of his monkey.
Yes,
it had everything
right.
that the 70s had to offer. He had the pet monkey. He had the guy driving the 18-wheeler. And one of the Lander sisters was named Stax. She was like Dispatch or something.
How do they get away with that?
All right, I'm looking at the Lander sisters.
Tell me you're not looking at two Kathy Showers.
I don't know who Kathy Showers is.
Okay, you lose your 70s card right there.
I'm sorry.
She's just Playmate of the Year, 1976. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, really? Thought I knew all the Playmates.
Kathy Shower.
All right. Let's...
You didn't ask him the real question.
Oh, yeah, the real question. The real question is, okay, do you have sex with 1/8 or a threesome of a combined score of 10? You can whack it up any way you like. Go with a 2 and an 8, go with 5 and 5. It's kind of, America's sort of split now on this hypothetical. A lot of guys here chose the 8. A lot have gone with the threesome, but they've had to be careful about the numbers. It seems to be the 6-4 split seems to be the way to go. Vinny, how say you?
There's no question there's only one answer here. You go with the 8.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And here's why.
Mm-hmm.
I've had my share of 8s.
Mm-hmm.
I married a 10.
Mm.
She's still a 10 in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
A 10, even though they age, they're still a 10. They still act like a 10, right? That never goes away. Everybody thinks they want a threesome.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea how much they don't want a threesome.
Why?
Even when you're in your prime, when you can get it going 3-4 times a night, think about it. The first time, the first nut is the best nut.
That's a Rod Stewart song.
Yeah, I
isn't
was
it?
going to say, I think Sheryl Crow covered that song.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's number one. Number two, after that, you're just trying to, you're doing it for God and
You're
your
playing
country.
catch up. Yeah.
And let's say you had a 6 and a 4 and you did the 6 first. Now you're looking at the 4. And even on a good night, you might have trouble with the 6 again. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and you don't want them laughing at you when you go flaccid.
Wow.
This
is a man with experience.
It's not
I
like
like
a
this
porn
angle.
video. I'm sorry. It's not like the porn where they just keep going and going and
Right.
going. There was no Viagra back in my day.
Right.
When you were done, you were done. And you've always heard the thing of, oh yeah, I had a threesome. The two girls ended up doing each other and laughing and talking about recipes. That's because you're not doing your job. Because you can't do your job.
Well, I'm glad I asked, number one. Number two, I need you to talk to Sonny because he wouldn't take any advice from his papa. You make a compelling point about busting the nut and then the second nut bust and starting with the 6 and
That's
moving
a steep
to the 4.
hill to climb with the 4.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm trying my best to find the Hee Haw twins, and it could be my poor Googling skills, which isn't really bad. But are you sure it was Hee Haw?
Yeah.
I thought it was the Hee Haw twins, but
Wait,
I don't know.
the show Hee Haw.
Yeah, the show Hee Haw. The show Hee Haw had blonde twins on it.
Didn't they like pop out of a corn stalk or something?
Everyone popped out of a corn stalk.
Okay.
Yeah. And I agree. You start with the 6. That's a weird modern picture of the Hee Haw twins, maybe.
Well, it's actually, they're really hard to Google. You Google Hee Haw twins, nothing comes up.
Why'd they scrub the Hee Haw twins?
Hard to Google. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, very hard to Google.
Well, maybe they don't exist. Well, you got to find a cast picture or something like
Could
that.
have a different
Probably.
show.
I'm getting close. Hang on.
No, it was on Hee Haw.
Or are they just girls that looked alike?
I don't know. They
think
may
that
not
was
have
the
been
case.
biological twins.
Here we
They
go.
just called them the Hee Haw twins.
Oh, there you
and
go.
They put them on there.
Very sultry.
And I barely know how to use the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
All
you go.
right. So, Hee Haw twins, stick with the 8. Don't go with the 6.
A fool's game is what it is.
Fool's errand. You go with the 6. If you do go with the 6-4 split, start with the 4.
You got to start with the 4. You need to climb that hill.
That's right. I agree.
Good advice.
All right. Let's see. We got some questions up there. Vinny, what are we going to talk about? We're talking about altitude training. Let me just talk to Kyle from Tallahassee. Kyle?
Adam, Bob, Gina, Vinny.
Hi.
Hey, Kyle. What's going on?
Nothing much.
Stay-at-home dad, gym teacher for 20 years. Lost 120 pounds on NSNG.
Yep, that's right.
Wow. This shit works.
We're looking at
Look at the picture.
pictures. Man, down. What'd you go from at your most?
360 and down to about 240.
AV Ed looks terrible.
Nice. That's right. You want to pull some ball? And so what's the regimen? What do you do every day?
Well, it took me a while to get here, but now I intermittent fast, coffee, heavy whipping cream until dinner time. Eat one dinner, and then a little bit later eat a second dinner, 4-hour eating window. Been doing that for about a year and a half.
And you still teaching gym?
No, I was a stay-at-home dad for a couple of years, and then I was headed back into the gym. That's why I decided I had to lose the weight because it's no fun down here in Tallahassee. It's like a swamp, and you're going to be outside. So I got a gym teaching type job, and COVID knocked me out of it last year, so I'm back at stay-at-home dad again with the little one.
Well, let's talk about that schedule for a second. And it's good that Vinny's here because I believe so much. I mean, the way most people are wired, I can do pretty good, but it's hard when people are bringing home Mike subs, Jersey Mikes, and not finishing them. And you just open the fridge and it's just like sitting in there.
Yep.
But schedule. I find get up, have your coffee, put your cream in it, and then leave. And don't even schedule in lunch, so to speak. I tend to just come here and just work, and you don't really miss it.
Your body gets used to it.
If I was sitting around at home all day, I would tend to want to graze a little more and think about that.
And how many times have you heard someone say to a kid, and now I say to myself sometimes, you're not hungry, you're just bored.
Right.
You know, yeah, I feel like eating. No, you
And
don't.
there was a time about 100 years ago where breakfast was not even a thing in this world. It was a campaign by Kellogg or maybe Post. I can't remember which one.
Kellogg, I thought.
Kellogg that, it's like, hey, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And once something is in your ear, it becomes,
Well, it's not only in their ear. What they do, as I've realized, I've seen it with COVID, I've seen it with breakfast, I've seen it with all the ointments and all the stuff you slather all over kids and whatever it is. They get hold of the moms. And once they get hold of the moms are like, you need some hot porridge. You need some instant Quaker cereal. You need something hot.
Stick
you need
to your
something
ribs.
hearty. You
Yeah.
can't leave the house with an empty tank, and you can't just have a piece of cheese or an apple. You need something hearty. So they like indoctrinate these people, and then it just kind of becomes, it just is. It's like that's what you believe.
And wasn't cornflakes invented to stop masturbating?
Yeah, dextrinization was created by Dr. Kellogg. He was the guy that figured out that you can burn wheat just enough to turn it into sugar. That's what dextrose is. That's
To
what we
stop
used to do.
masturbating.
Yeah, and it
Does
was
it work?
all to stop masturbating.
Think about Vinny's probably gonna yak when I tell him this, but it's the reason I like taking the walks down memory lane with Kellogg's and the Vinny and the Hee Haw twins is you realize how much of this stuff was fucking just wrong. Just they were dead nuts wrong. They weren't even.
Twins.
They weren't not right. They were wrong.
Right. They had it backwards.
When I was young, and Vinny probably remembers this time, I know everything because my mom was a health food nut hippie who was wrong about everything that came out of her fucking mouth except for when she said the name Adam was fucking wrong. And even then she'd say Alan once in a while. But she was just wrong. Every thought she had was a little conspiracy, a little bit the government and whatever. And every dietary thought she'd ever entertained was wrong.
Bulgur wheat, molasses.
Quinoa.
Yeah, it was all. We didn't have quinoa, but I'll tell you what we had. We had wheat germ, and wheat germ was just wheat germ with molasses in it, essentially. And it was like you got to sprinkle this on everything. You have your big bowl of Quaker nuts. Don't use apple juice in there. Don't use milk, and then cut up a banana, and then take the wheat germ and dump it on wheat germ. In brewer's yeast tasted like shit, but brewer's yeast was like the health food. You'd put wheat germ. It came in a peanut, old timey, almost like Planters peanut jar. You take it out and you just sprinkle it on top of everything you ate.
Taste?
Was it a laxative?
Wait, brewer's yeast smelled like Rhonda Shear's used underwear.
Oh, come on. I've actually heard people use brewer's yeast to sprinkle on like popcorn and stuff.
Yeah,
instead
because
of...
if you like that kind of
pungent.
that pungent.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Brewer's yeast is tough, but wheat germ is, I'm sure, horrible for you. But it had the word wheat and germ in it.
Oh, sure.
And they would like toast it and probably goose it up with a little molasses or something, or corn syrup or something. And it was a little bit sweet. And they were just, the whole thing was, this is wheat germ. You can eat this stuff right out of the jar, sprinkle it on everything you make. It'll be that much better for you. Dead nuts wrong on all that shit, too. Just wrong.
I'll
About
take
everything.
you one step further. The Metamucil and all of the, that was all the wheat companies figuring, wait, we're throwing away all this crap, this husk. We need to do something. Let's convince America, because once you convince America, you can convince the world. Let's convince America that they need more soluble fiber.
Right.
Let's tell them they need this every day. And you know what happens after you take this 2 or 3 or 4 days or every day? Your whole system becomes lazy. The system, and then people say, no, you don't understand. If I don't take it, I get constipated.
That's why.
Yes, because your system has now become lazy. It takes 1 or 2 rounds of constipation for your everything to turn around, your constitution to turn around to where you can actually get things moving again. We're not meant to work in that zero environment.
Can I Google both of you, right? I literally just Googled wheat germ. It says it's a byproduct of the milling that produces refined grain products. Side effects, diarrhea, nausea, gas, and dizziness.
Cool.
Well, if you need to get things moving, I guess diarrhea is a good side effect.
Yeah. What's in is wheat germ. I think it's probably sweetened with molasses. Now, again, my mom's wrong about everything. So in her world, brown sugar, molasses, that was all fine. Kefir, you could drink.
Yeah.
You could drink the yogurt stuff.
Yep.
That was fine.
That's still a thing.
It probably had a ton of sugar in it, but all that was fine. And again, I haven't even thought about wheat germ in a million years. Oh, wait a minute. Kyle?
Yes.
Can you haul your fat ass out to
come
the
on.
show this weekend and pull balls for us?
Yeah, I would love to.
Are you coming from Tallahassee?
Yeah, we had planned the trip anyway, and then you said it the other day that you were going to be in Raleigh. I was like, no way. So yeah, it's a nice little coincidence. happy to do it.
Good.
You want to do which shows you want to do,
Late.
Max Spana? Is I'm looking at it. Oh yeah, late Saturday late show. Good. Come pull balls, buddy.
All right, I'll be there.
Good Nights Comedy Club. That'll be this weekend. All right, thanks, bro. Say hi and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Vinny.
Good job,
Thanks,
Kyle.
everyone.
You bet.
All right. So let's see. Vinny, altitude training.
Yeah, you were talking about Red Rocks or something a few weeks ago. I caught that show, and I think you had someone on. They were like, "Yeah, everyone likes to train at altitude because you can get more red blood cells. You recruit more red blood cells when you're at altitude, and that will make you stronger." That's almost correct. Well, you do recruit more red blood cells. That part is correct. The problem is that if you're training at altitude, your muscles and your mitochondria will never match the red blood cells. So the best example I can come up with is take Pikes Peak. Mm-hmm. And they have a race on Pikes Peak every year where cars go up. Now the only cars winning that is electric cars because electric is not affected by the altitude. But if you take a gas engine, let's say for simplicity that the gas engine is carbureted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because back in the day they were all carbureted. These cars that are kicking ass at the bottom might have trouble at the top because now the oxygen mixture is different at the top than at the bottom. So you're not getting the same mixture. So you might want your car to run rich and rough on the bottom so that when you get to the top, you can make it all the way to the top and win. The same thing happens to the human body. You can make all the red blood cells that you want, but if you don't have the engine, if you don't have a big enough carburetor and a deep enough intake, you're never going to get what you need to the pistons, right?
The cylinder, yeah. Pikes Peak is a crazy thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Crazy people do that race. Because it's like 9 miles all the way up this twisty road and maybe Colorado and altitude of whatever. It gets snowy at the top and it's hot at the bottom. And there's no guardrail.
Oh,
you go over the edge, you go over the
That's
edge. It's a crazy...
And they do it on motorcycles, too. Some of these guys...
Yeah, they do it on everything. They paved it recently, which is
that was
weird.
nice of them.
All of it or a piece of it?
I think they paved all of Pikes Peak. They didn't want it that way. It's 12.4 miles. It's 156 turns. It's really hard to learn. The guys that are serious about it are trying to set a time. It's a timed event.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
And but you go a little too hot in one of those corners, you're going over the edge, and that edge just keeps going because you're at Pikes Peak. And yeah, it's interesting now. The cars used to be affected quite a bit as the altitude changed and the air got thinner, but now there's electric cars.
And even if you have a fuel-injected system with the right chip, you can chip it correctly. But the human body doesn't have electricity or a chip. So what happens, and we'll use the Tour de France as an example, what these guys used to do was they would train low, at low altitude so that you could build up as much muscle fiber as you can, as much mitochondria as you can. Mitochondria, think of that as the scrubbing bubbles of energy within your cells, of your muscles. But now you don't have enough red blood cells because that's what carries the oxygen to the muscles. So what these guys would do back in the day is they would do something called blood doping, where they would take their own blood.
Thank God that's gone.
Well, hang on. What they would do is put it in a centrifuge machine right before the event. They would put it back in, and there was no way that you can detect blood doping. It's your own blood going back in.
Yeah.
And then that got kind of sloppy. You got to keep it cold. You have to keep it on ice. You got to move this around the Tour de France or whatever. They figured out that a drug you probably took, Brian, at some point, they took not Neupogen, but EPO. Epigen, which artificially makes red blood cells. So when you hear about PEDs,
I might need that.
PEDs, performance-enhancing drug, the media will pick it up and go steroids, but it's not steroids. It's actually something that will give you red blood cells. They still couldn't detect that. And so then they just went, okay, anything with a hematocrit level over 52, we're going to assume you're cheating, except some Spaniards and Italians can get that naturally because of their genetics. So the answer to the question, without getting too deep,
should you train at altitude?
You should train low and sleep high. So if you could train at a low level, somewhere below a mile, somewhere below 1,000 feet, you're going to get the optimal amount of muscle training done. But if you spend at least 8 to 12 hours up at altitude, at night you will build. So if you can train at the bottom of Death Valley and then go up to the top of, say, Big Bear and live, that's your best bet. Or you can sleep in an altitude tent.
Like Michael Jackson.
No, he did a hyperbaric chamber, which is the opposite.
It's funny because they always talk about, I'm going to talk to Frank Mir about this, but they always talk about fighters training at altitude. That's the way it always went. They go up to Big Bear and they train at Big Bear. And
Rocky on the top of Siberia.
Yeah, you got to train at altitude, but it probably didn't do them any good. But it probably did help their training a lot because they were away from all the whores and bars. And they probably just went up to Big Bear like some old timer just went, I don't even know anything about altitude, but there's no whores, strip clubs, fucking liquor stores, nudie bars, high schools. There's nothing here that these people get into. So we'll just go up and do altitude training in Big Bear. It was really just going to a cabin.
Happy accident.
And not banging and balling and doing drugs. All right, let me hit Keeps here. There are only 2 FDA-approved medications to prevent hair loss. Keeps offers you both. Keeps, a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair. Convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months in discreet packaging. Low-cost treatments start at just $10 per month. Proven results. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. And go ahead, go to their website, check out the before and after photos. Prevention, that's the key. Treatment can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so act fast. It's Keeps, right, Dawson?
If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Adam to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/Adam to get your first month free. keeps.com/Adam.
Two-time heavyweight, UFC heavyweight champion Frank Mir is going to join us. Vinnie, Fat, a documentary, too. And that's available at Amazon Prime, and you can Amazon Prime Video and iTunes and stuff as well. And also, just go to his website. Got a lot of good information there. And VinnieTortorich.com. All right, quick break. Back with Frank Mir right after this. Frank Mir, UFC legend. Frankie Mir, 2-time heavyweight champion, has joined us once again. Good to see you, Frank.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man.
I was looking into your bio, found this inspiring. You wrestled in high school and you lost your first 9 matches.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a depressing couple weeks.
And then your senior year, the next year, you went 44-1.
Yeah. Quick learning curve.
Was that what that was?
Well, just like anything else, when you first do something new, you're kind of out of your comfort zone, and people get, you make mistakes. And at least, that was a lesson I learned, that, just keep hammering away at things, and eventually, if you're constantly in there trying, you're going to find the ways to succeed.
When the UFC, how long had the UFC been around before you entered the UFC? Because I was watching the UFC fight with my son, and he's 15 last week, and he was telling his friends, like, oh, the old UFC was crazy. No weight divisions, guys showing up in board shorts, another guy showing up in gis, guys with ponytails, another guy grabbed the ponytail and just mashed his head against his knee. Like, it was such a crazy circus.
Yeah, well, the UFC first itself, the promotion was, 93, I think, was the first show. But I actually came on board when the Fertittas had purchased it. Lorenzo, being on the Athletic State Commission for boxing, was able to use those connections to be able to help actually, get it sanctioned and get it back as far as a sport that could be on pay-per-view. Because for a while there, I think from 97 or 96, it was basically Indian reservations and, only VHS. It was like, basically extreme backyard type fighting. Right. It was almost like the genre we were in. And then once they got a hold of it in 2000, and then switched it back to what we know today.
It's evolved so much. I know your daughter's fighting now. You have an 18-year-old daughter?
I do. She just turned 18. she's always been, my kids obviously trained martial arts, and I've always been a big pusher as far as, it's a good way of life. I don't necessarily think just because you like boxing doesn't mean that you have to be a professional boxer. I think being in the gym and training and different versions of martial arts it's good for you.
Sure.
But my daughter took it one step further than I wanted her to, and she decided that, she was going to be a professional fighter, and the writing was on the wall. I was either going to be a part of it or watch from the sidelines.
If it was a movie, you guys end up in the ring together. You know what I mean? Like fighting
Yeah.
against each other. This is the movie version.
Is she? She's 2-0.
Yeah, she fought 2 fights already, and was very dominant. The one girl actually, she had choked her out, and she was unconscious for about a good 2 or 3 minutes. And it was funny because actually, someone had walked up and I forgot. I think it was her. She's like, "Dad, is she gonna be okay?" I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen anybody asleep that long from a choke.
Yeah, 'cause
Proud of you, honey.
you choke.
Good job.
Little girl.
You choke people out. Most of the time they tap. Sometimes they don't. They just go limp. Some of it, I think, well, you tell me, some of it's like a constitution. Like there's some guys that are like, I don't tap. So if I just go under, I go under.
Yeah, and as far as chokes are concerned, there's never really any damage, so I'm okay with that. You fight to the last second, you go out on your shield, but there's no lasting effects. Now, if someone has your shoulder in a lock and you're going to tear your rotator cuff,
you got to tap.
Man, tap, and otherwise you might have your career ended, or at least it's going to be put on hold for a while you're trying to heal.
But usually they either tap or they go out. But when they go out momentarily.
Right, and then just kind of
the ref gets you off. They see you go limp. Sometimes they do this weird morbid thing where they'll lift the person's hand and let it just flutter back down to the canvas and they'll go, oh, that person's out. But they don't stay out that long.
No.
So you're
within seconds they come back. Once the circulation starts, it was this weird situation. And the fight was on Icon. If you're watching UFC Fight Pass, Bella's second fight, and you'll see, we're in the celebrating in the ring, and then we're trying to organize things, and they're still working on her in the corner. Almost like I see that with strikes. People get knocked out with a punch. It could be a few minutes before they get up. A choke, it was my first experience in 20 years of MMA fighting that I ever saw that.
I guess I know how you're going to answer this, but maybe not. I know how I would answer it. Because if I would say, were you more nervous for one of your fights or more nervous for one of her fights?
You would think I'm more nervous for her fight, and I am because you're less, and the reason being is that you're less in control. At least if I'm nervous, I can focus my nerves on what I'm going to do positively. All right, they throw a jab, I'm going to slip this way. Okay, they do this. This is their main technique, and this is what they fall back on. I'm going to do it. You can play this X's and O's game with yourself to keep you distracted, and you feel a sense of actually accomplishing something. You're doing something. Whereas when it's your kid out there fighting, there's only so much I can do, only so much preparation and advice. And, at the end of the day, it's her in there by herself. So that part is, that's nerve wracking.
I feel the same way about my daughter with sex.
Oh, my God.
I can't be in the van. I don't know where the van is.
I'll teach you everything I know.
That's right.
It's up to you now.
I want you to slip, though, man. Weave, slip, Bob. Get on your bike. So famously, I always talk to Frank about this because he, speaking of tapping out and submissions and stuff, Frank's an expert at that. And the Brock Lesnar fight is the best. And I think you got him in a foot bar or like an ankle bar or something.
Yeah.
And I should set the table. Brock Lesnar is such a beast, such a monstrous.
He's a professional wrestler.
Beast. But big by professional wrestlers stand, and when he went to the MMA, he was a scary dude. He's such a large human being. He's Brock Lesnar, at the height of his powers, is just probably one of the most intimidating figures in sports. If you see pictures of the guy. And Frank had to get in.
Oh, man, Gina.
Oh, boy.
With him.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. He looks like a villainous action figure.
Yeah, so this feels like something that was CGI.
Right.
Yeah, no, big, strong guy.
Big, strong guy. But yeah, and he was
No
probably
one could beat him.
Yeah, and that fight seemed like it was going his way at the beginning, but I don't know. You walk us through it.
Yeah, no, he got the takedown in the fight, and national champion wrestler. I think he only lost like 5 matches in college, and so he was had a great base, which is funny because when I first signed up to fight him, a lot of people only knew him as the pro wrestler. That's where he made his name and mark on the world. So people go, oh, the pro wrestler. I'm like, guys, I know he pro wrestles, but the guy is an actual legitimate wrestler. You know what I mean? Like he wrestled in college, national champ, All-American multiple times. He knows how to wrestle too, which is the main part of our sport as far as positioning. So sure enough, he took me down and was able to, throw in a lot of shots, but I was able to survive, and he made his mistake and just, put his guard down for a second, or just not even put his guard down. Just he wasn't aware of all the different techniques we were capable of, and I do a lot of things that typically big guys don't do. I can fight from the bottom position, and so he left his limb there, and I took it.
Was it an ankle bar or something?
No, it was actually a leg lock. So I was putting pressure basically on his knee, so it would break his, tears your ACL and stuff.
Yeah, where we're watching him, he's got you down on the ground, and you just.
Yeah, and you see me driving forward.
He tapped. He
desperately tapping.
He gave you a good tap.
And it was almost like you just couldn't be bothered to notice. He was like, "No, stop."
Actually, here's how the rules work. I don't stop when my opponent taps, because that's not the end of the fight. The end of the fight is when my opponent taps. The referee acknowledges that he's tapping, and he tells me to stop.
Got it.
Because it's happened before in fights. If you feel a guy tapping and then you stop because you're being a good guy, or
Right.
you think that's the end of the race.
And he can overtake you.
Well, yeah, and he goes, I didn't tap. The referee didn't see it. The fight keeps going on.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's why you can't text if you're ref.
No,
You
well,
gotta
and if
keep
you
both
see
eyes
me,
there.
if you watch there in the fight, and I've done that before, like one time I choked a guy unconscious. Well, I held the choke until the referee, I came over and I even said something to her. I was like, hey, I think he's out. And he did what you call the morbid little hand test.
Mm-hmm.
He picked his arm up and he didn't hold it up, because it's sometimes hard when guys' heads are in certain positions to see, are you awake or not? You could just be trying to focus on not going to sleep and controlling. So seeing if someone's eyes are open is not a great indication, because people go to sleep with their eyes open all the time. So that's why you kind of get some kind of confirmation. If you feel the referee grabbing your limb, you have to kind of give some kind of hey, I'm here, don't stop the fight. If you just grab your arm and let it go limp and you don't fight back, well, that's on you. And obviously you're unconscious. And so I hold submissions, so I don't apply more pressure. So if you watch there, as I put the leg lock on him, I applied pressure to try to break his leg. And as soon as he tapped, I stopped. I didn't apply any more pressure, because at that moment I know he's relinquishing. I just didn't let go. So it's kind of like, I got you, but I'm not letting go until the referee comes. And I was actually kind of surprised. It took me a second. I'm like, okay, where's the ref? I feel him tapping. That's why you see me looking around. I'm like, all right, what's going on here? Why are we not stopping the fight?
The greatest power move is beating a guy up or submitting a guy and then summoning the ref. I think there was. I want to put that on my list.
Yeah.
I got a list of things I want to do. I think it was probably, maybe it was Larry Holmes fighting. I don't think it was when he beat up Ali, when Ali was kind of past his prime, but there was a Larry Holmes and maybe a Marvis Frazier or something. Joe Frazier's son fought for a little while or something. At some point, Larry Holmes just had him in the corner and was just peppering him with jabs and just teeing off on him. And at a certain point, Larry Holmes said to the ref, "Why don't you come in here?
Please intervene."
He's like, "I'm going to use my left hand to jab, and I'm going to use my right hand to wave you in to put an end to this." He probably didn't say charade, but he maybe said charade.
Right.
I think Larry pronounces it differently.
Right.
But yeah, that's a power move when you're getting the ref.
He's had enough
to stop it. I would do that very early in the first round to see if it worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one thing about tapping that's interesting in our sport. Anybody, not anybody, but you get caught with a knockout and you could have been winning. You didn't really. You didn't cry uncle. You got caught with a shot and put out, right? But there is always that element of tapping to another human being that you're basically saying, hey, uncle, please stop. Would you please stop applying pressure on my joint? And I think there's a little bit more of an ownership over another fighter of, I didn't just burn you and catch you with a shot. I made you actually tell me you want no more.
It was Larry Holmes and Marvis Frazier. Did I get that right? Holy shit.
Yeah.
In between jabs. Come here.
Also, Larry, you don't have to completely destroy the guy. And by the way, there was enough. He ate enough big shots with his right hand to. I bet the ref did a "don't tell me my business." I bet he let him eat an extra 4 shots because he's like, "Hey man, I'll do the reffing, you do the punching, you don't tell me what to do."
He's doing the punching and the reffing right now.
That's a power move there.
Seriously.
That's pretty dominant.
Pretty dominant.
Holmes is one of the best heavyweight boxers I felt of all time.
Completely agree. Just, maybe he does get his due by people saying he doesn't get his due over and over again. Maybe that is your due.
I just don't think he had the epic battles that sometimes like look, Muhammad Ali had Joe Frazier, and then
he had Marvis
George Foreman.
Yeah, he didn't. So much of it is about timing, and obviously you need an opponent, and if you're going to have Hall of Famers like Joe Frazier and George Foreman and all those epic guys, and then he comes in the 80s and he's got a bunch of dudes you've never heard of.
Pre-Tyson.
Yeah, kind of pre-Tyson, and he's fighting guys like Ronaldo Snipes and stuff. It's just names you just never... Not part of the zeitgeist, or Marvis Frazier. People are like, oh, I don't know, Joe Frazier had a son. Like,
it's kind of sad, actually. The 2 fights I know of Joe Frazier's kid is that one, and the other one with Tyson completely put him up with uppercuts. Was like almost holding him up. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, still it's before my time, still. But actually, no, I think I was a little kid when it happened. But anyways, ESPN Classics, you can see it. And caught him with uppercuts, and you can see that Frazier wanted to go down physically. His body was trying to find gravity was coaxing him down, and Mike Tyson's uppercuts were trying to deny that.
The only thing that's keeping you on your feet is getting an uppercut.
Yeah, that's a rough day in the office.
Horrible.
Chris, I'll tell you what I need you to do. I need you to take the Marvis Frazier with Larry Holmes and then the Marvis Frazier with Mike Tyson and put it into one loop of him being dismantled, because when I talk to my son about podcasting,
yeah,
and he's going to go, I don't need to go to college, old man. I could do a podcast. I go, Joe Frazier, one of the greatest fighters of all time, but he had a son. He had a son.
Who reached the program.
And he wanted to go in his old man's business.
Yeah.
Let's see how he fared. Let me go ahead and dim the lights. Let me pop this up.
He wasn't without ability. He went pro.
You see, it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, that's fine. I like where you're going with that. I see it. Yeah. Cautionary tale.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, we got to see this.
I'm just kidding, Chris. You don't have to string it together, but I still want to see poor Marvis Frazier. Oh, that uppercut.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Please let me die.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yep. So you shouldn't always enter the family business.
That's right. Careful what you wish for.
There can be advantages, and then sometimes maybe you're just not cut out
Frank's
for it.
daughter's dominating.
Well, that's true, but there is a boxing is so corrupt, promoters, we got Frazier, we'll just put the name on the marquee, like this is going to sell some tickets, let's put him in there. Too soon with
boxing has a
guys.
much larger disparity of talent fighting each other. You have guys that have 20 fights, and 18 of them are people that don't even have a winning record. It's like amazing sometimes the difference in opponents until they get to the top level. Where that's one thing with MMA, UFC, and the different shows. You're fighting guys. That's why very rarely in our sport do you see a guy with a perfect record, because there's so many tight battles. I mean, just to get to the title contingency, the guy probably fought 4 or 5 guys who are all top 5.
Yeah, I always say that legends of the sport. You go Tito Ortiz. It's like that is 17 and 12. Or something,
right.
It's like that would not work in boxing,
right?
At
it's
all.
like a testament to both teams with a low-scoring game,
right?
Yeah, and it's also what makes it such an exciting sport, which is in boxing. Oftentimes, more often than not, you kind of know who's going to win going in. Like you
definitely
think
know who
about,
the A side is.
Yeah, you kind of when Tyson was in his prime, you knew he was going to win. The question is which round was he going to get the knockout, or how was it going to be the uppercut or the overhand? But you knew. You knew with Larry Holmes when no one could beat him. He knew, when he got in with Marvis Frazier, Larry Holmes is going to win the fight. What rounds are going to knock him out in? I can't tell you how many UFC fights where it's just like, who's going to win this fight? I have no idea. And neither do the experts. You talk to every MMA expert, and they pick the wrong guy half the time.
Very hard to be consistent. Another thing, too, even less noticeable as far as even names. You can go to local boxing matches, or like if you have shows in Vegas where it's not necessarily a Showtime or HBO type televised. It's a good fight. There'll be some notable fighters on there, but you can sit there in the audience and watch. You'll see one guy walk in and go, "Wow, all right, that guy's a professional fighter," and then you'll see his opponent come in. You're like, holy hell, like they sanctioned this? Like, oh, wow, like that guy's going to die. You know what I mean? Like, what? And that you just don't see as much in MMA.
I got a thing, I root for the guys with the least tattoos first. Then once in a while I'll go with the guy that
the true rebels now in our world, no tattoos.
That's right.
But then after that I go with the guy with the worst physique. Because I love it when a guy with a dad bod just opens a can of whoop ass on some ripped dude. I feel like that's a win for all the dads
for you,
out there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a personal win.
It definitely brings a smile to my face.
You want to talk about stem cell therapy, by the way? Because I know you're here to plug something.
Well, no, just different things as far as career-wise that have helped me out immensely, and that's actually BioAccelerator. I don't know how much interest you have in doing the stem cells, but a lot of times I tell people that things get too much hype. You're like, all right, there has to be a catch. This has to. Maybe you're overselling it, and really with the stem cells, I went down in December of 2020, or was it 2019 or the year before last? Sorry, 2020, and amazing results turned my career around big time. That's why I ended up doing a professional boxing match here just recently in April and competed against a world champion. My body was pretty beaten up towards the end of my MMA career, or towards it, and it just made it painful to want to go compete and train, do anything. It's discouraging, and it takes you 15 minutes to get out of bed in the morning, and you start questioning yourself. Oh, is my age, father time, comes for everybody. Is it true now? Is it my time to hang it up? And then the stem cell completely changed. I mean, I'm honest with people. They're like, okay, well, is it too good to be true? Too good to be true. I'm like, well, here's the catch. Here's the part that makes it go, okay. It's extremely phenomenal as far as how it helps your body, but it's not the cheapest thing in the world. So I tell people like, oh, there is a catch. You're going to have to be, this isn't cheap, you are going to get what you pay for.
What's the process?
As far as, when you go in there on my site, I mean, they do these embryonic stem cells. So it's like women that have given birth, everything's fine. They can donate the cord blood.
Right.
And so through the donations, they are able to pull through, and the guys that understand the science more, but basically pull these stem cells that are blank cells that you can put in the body. And they clean them, they make sure everything, is safe. And then you go in there and you do two different versions of it, basically. You have what's called like a systemic, where I get an IV. So you sit down there, and BioAccelerator, everybody pretty much always does the IV also on top of specific joints. So I have torn labrums in my shoulder, and my knees are all, I've had multiple knee surgeries. So obviously I was like, hey, when I go in, can you focus on my shoulders and my knees? And I had two other injury areas where I'm like, okay, I broke my hand. I'm like, okay, this old break, and it constantly, rears its head up and gives me a hard time. So you sit there with an IV, and that the stem cells that go intravenously wherever your body gives off an inflammation response. So, there's an injury, your body's pissed off. It gives off a signal which causes swelling, the inflammation response, but also it helps your body send repair cells there to help fix what's going on. Well, now, the way I was explained to me, I'm like, well, I have 40-year-old cells in my body that are trying to fix this injury. Now they put in, basically, weeks-old cells that multiply much faster, more efficiently, and stronger. And so now your healing process just goes through the roof, and it just accelerates all the things and makes possible what isn't possible anymore. It's like, hey, look, you're in your 40s or you're in your 50s. Things just aren't going to go as well as it was when you were 18. But you can actually turn back that clock by borrowing, basically, brand new cells to put in your body.
We're in the future. We're there.
How does it work? You see all these. You hear people talk about all sorts of memory and my dad's going to turn 90. I was sitting with him the other day, and it's like everything. He just goes, I can't think of the word. Like I can't think I can't think of the name of this guy. I can't think of the word. It. You notice it as you get older. You go, what was that? I used to play Pop Warner football with that guy. What was that dude's name? Like that, it kicks in. I hear about stem cell as it pertains to the muscles and the joints,
Physical.
but the physical part. But I don't know. I feel like you got blood going through your brain.
Well,
How
here's
does that,
the point.
is there,
You have a blood-brain barrier. So if you put a lot of, if you put a medicine in your artery, it doesn't necessarily get to your brain. Your brain is very protected. Your body, keeps bacteria and different things from entering there, so that you have this barrier that doesn't allow a lot of things to transfer over. So you could take certain medicines, but it's never going to get to your brain. And actually, just doing the stem cells intravenously, your brain is one area that it has a hard time getting to. So what they do there is they'll actually give you basically a spinal tap. You sit there, they pull out spinal fluid so they don't put too much in you, and this is a surgical procedure, so you're basically in a room with a guy who's a neurologist, and they they mix your spinal fluid with the stem cells, whatever it is, and so that way if they take out 20 cc's, I don't know the exact numbers, throwing it out there, they're only injecting back 20 cc's of liquid, but now the liquid is mixed with stem cell, and so now they can pump it directly into your cord, and so that way it goes right to the brain and benefits. Some people, my friend did that version of it, and I was at the Jim McMahon did that version of it. They call it like their concussion protocol type. So guys that have had, like myself, who've had multiple, head injuries, you have inflammation going on inside the head, and this can go through and help repair those things.
Well, I was going to say I'd do it, but that was such an awesome question I asked. Maybe it's unnecessary.
Yeah, you seem like you're decent still. I wouldn't say you're over the edge just yet with the being sharp.
No, but it is interesting that why just the joints? Why not the noggin?
100%.
And I never would have thought about this barrier, but going with the spinal tap, and then guys that have been concussed a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm also, thinking selfishly, like, comedians, they get a little older, they kind of they get a little fuzzy up there. I mean, I wonder if that could be something that could be
the last
at
time
a Medi-Spa.
Last time I was there, I only did my joints and I did the intravenously one. They were basically the week they tried to fit me in. I wasn't able to get into the surgical room to do the surgical procedure part, as far as the concussion protocol, I think is what they had named it there. So this next time I'm going down in November, I'm bringing my daughter because she has injuries too already at this point, and so we're gonna go there, and that's actually one of the procedures I'll be able to. So next time I come in, I could be more of a testimony if it works or not. Well, you'll be able to have a before and after. How I'm speaking now, and then let's see how.
I imagine when you come out, you're like, indubitably.
To at least that always makes you feel a little bit better for the amount of concussions I've had. Is for the most part, I'll look at other guys when they speak, and I'm never going to say names, but there's certain fighters that have been fighting for a while, and you hear them talk, and you're like, ooh, that doesn't sound good. That's rough. And I'm self-conscious about my own, so I'm always like, I'll tell my wife, I'm like, hey, I think this is one of those things that when it's happening to you, you don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody else is going to be like, hey man, Frank, like what's going on with him? Like, I know, man, it's sad what happened, right? So I'm like, please don't let me be that guy that doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like, if I need a sippy cup, just please let me know.
That's a good partner. We've talked about that. The alligator skin boots guy. That the partner needs to make sure.
Needs to say something. Yeah.
Boxing is checkers and MMA is chess.
Yes, that is Tino. And maybe you should get her. Maybe Thomas the Hitman Hearns could probably use a little.
What's with the alligator boots?
Wait, check and see if he's wearing alligator boots. No, I have this.
No, it's that if you're not wearing alligator boots, your wife makes you go back in and put them on.
All right.
Go with me.
No, it's actually funny. I'm wearing crocodile boots, so
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, you're going to get your ass kicked.
You're 100% right, Gina.
To be fair to me, I say ostrich.
No, ostrich.
And I say purple. No,
those are pretty badass.
The theme, that is funny. What are the chances? I always say check the footwear before you do the analogies.
I know, stupid me.
No, I say this all the time, but it's a broader discussion, which is like, you
said guys and alligator boots are homo.
And what other chance I walked in?
Stop.
Saltwater crocodile. So what's up with the animal boots? What's going on?
Trying to be a good
Full stop, end of sentence.
Especially the way the room's set up. The door's behind me, right?
Oh, my God. I'd have to eat my way through that acoustic tile.
You said it was maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. You could beat the ass of any guy who wore alligator boots in the studio.
I said most
Play
guys,
the tape.
not any guy.
We got video, right?
No, I always say, so here's the analogy.
All right.
people make a lot of dumb decisions. Now, I'm not talking about footwear. I'm just talking about bad decisions. I've had it a lot. I've had it a lot where it's like, I'll leave myself out of the equation, but I've seen so many people go like storm into Jimmy Kimmel's office and tell him to fuck off and like, I'm quitting this job or whatever. And life doesn't go well for them after that. And my thing is, I always say, where are the wives? Where are the people in this person's life? Who is telling, somebody should tap them on the shoulder and go, do not do this. Yeah. We have kids. This is a bad idea. You're not that funny. This is probably not going to work. I need this money.
Supportive
whatever it is. A lot of, a realistic
I 100% agree with you.
And I first question I ask when everyone does the batshit move or torpedoes their own career, does that thing, talk to the hand or fuck off. I'm always like, I don't really blame them. They're hotheads. They're idiots. But I do kind of wonder,
their circle.
Is there somebody around them that could talk them off that ledge and have? Now the reality is they have yes people. They have people like encouraging them to do that shit. And then the analogy, the very poor analogy with the boots. I said, the guy who wears the purple ostrich boots and leaves the house, it's not his fault. He thinks he looks good in those boots. It's his wife's fault for letting him leave the house. And those are not your boots. Your boots are black and shiny and masculine.
Stomp-worthy.
So you know what's funny is actually almost every time a high-level athlete gets in trouble, I always say that. I'm like, oh, they don't have a wife like mine. Because here's the thing. I don't think a lot of our athletes are a lot of guys that are able to be fighters and push themselves extreme. They're not bad people. They just have what enables a guy like myself to walk into a cage against a Brock Lesnar is that my risk assessment is probably not the same as other people's risk assessment. Other people go, hey man, you got about a 1% chance of pulling this off. You know, the pitcher on a mound at a major game and it's all on the line and he has to throw this last final pitch. Everybody else is choking and freaking out, and this guy is going to pull it off because our risk assessment is not probably as sharp as somebody who goes, hey man, you know that this is probably not going to work out for you. The chances aren't in your favor, and people fold because that's good math.
Right.
To be a high-level athlete or be a professional fighter, you got to be bad at math. You have to sit there and go, okay, I'm going to do the numbers, and the numbers say it's probably going to not be in my favor, but I don't care. I can pull this off. I'll win. I'll find a way. So that same personality that benefits us in a cage or on a football field or on a pitching mound or whatever, all of a sudden now you've had a couple drinks and it's like, well, you shouldn't be driving. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be driving, but I can drive. So I always tell people, people like that, our inhibition control is not that great,
Yeah.
So having a good wife, like my wife, is, sometimes I tell people between the difference between myself and like a Jon Jones, it's not that I've always made the best decisions in my life. Like he's not always made the best decisions, but I have a wife that is up my, that's constantly watching. Hey, what? No, that's a horrible idea. What were you thinking? And so constantly is that anchor that I think a lot of professional athletes, a lot of high level, hell, business traders, Wall Street guys, they need somebody that pulls the chain a little bit. Like, hey, chill out, dude. You got to relax.
Obviously, the footwear is a blind spot for her, but I get what you mean. Yes, because this is where these guys go, I got a business prop for you, fighter. You've heard of frozen yogurt? This is frozen gravy. We franchise.
Tell me
I was like, I'm cutting it. I'm getting my checkbook out. You made a bad decision, but the wife wouldn't let you
100%.
Wouldn't let you do that. Well, speaking of Jon Jones, I was just talking to my son about Jon Jones and getting in with Francis Ngannou. You're uniquely qualified to discuss this. Francis is such a crazy specimen.
Oh, yeah.
And a question I was thinking, and I didn't know if I could answer it. The UFC heavyweight is 260 the cutoff? Does he
265.
He has to cut weight to get to the heavyweight?
He's a little bit, I'm sure. I think he's extremely lean.
Oh my God.
I think he weighs right there about 260, 262. So far, usually you can tell when a guy has to cut weight is if he comes in right at, 265,
Right.
So that means like, okay, well, you probably didn't weigh 265. You had to make sure you made the cutoff of 265.
Right. The guy did a cut because he stops at the cut.
Right.
If he weighs in at 262, he didn't do a cut.
Yeah, you're not going to cut an extra 3 pounds just to...
Right. So Jon Jones has the frame. He's a super tall guy.
Both his brothers in the NFL. He's got good stock.
But discussed this with Sonny. Brothers in the NFL. His frame can carry more. He fought at 205. He has put on muscle.
Yeah, he's looking good right now.
Is this fight going to happen? Are they making this fight?
I hope so. I think that right now the only thing that might be honestly and this isn't anything that I know, just my paying attention is, Francis has been vocal about, hey, how come the Paul brothers are making multiple millions of dollars for a show? We're getting as much viewership on one of our UFC fights, but I'm getting paid. I think it was $700,000 or $800,000. I'm not even making $1 million, and I'm the UFC heavyweight champ of the world.
He didn't make $1 million for his last fight.
At least from the tweet or post that I was, I think he said he made like $700,000 or $800,000 his pay, which is still, that's still decent pay for an MMA fighter. But be the UFC heavyweight champ on a show that's bringing in, $30-40 million, and the headline gets less than $1 million, then I can see how that would upset people. So I think that he's being vocal about that, and he's in a unique position that most guys don't complain about that, or that do complain about it aren't in a position to do much about it.
Right, his leverage.
Right, or they're like a Conor McGregor, where Conor, he's making the $20 million a fight, or 10 or whatever, and so. I'm good now. I'm not worried about anybody else. So, so usually when the guys do enter that realm of they're paid, and I guess Francis is in a unique situation where he's in a lot of in the driver's seat, and he's not being adequately taken care of, especially now watching what the, Logan and Jake Paul are able to, their opponents are making more money than Francis is.
Right. It's interesting. I think they haven't really discussed it. They usually kind of, you win the heavyweight championship and they start making your next fight and getting it out there. They've been talking about Jon Jones. Jon Jones is basically unbeaten, except for he has one technical loss,
right?
Because he elbowed someone on the ground or something.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
He was smashing that guy to begin with, and I think the guy was already hurt with one of the takedowns. I think he even almost dislocated his shoulder. So when they stopped the fight from the illegal down elbow, the guy couldn't continue because of the legal technique that happened to him, not the illegal elbow.
Yeah.
So it's not his fault either. He's like, hey, man, I'm messed up, and if you stop the fight here, it's like, I can't continue.
But he's essentially...
he's undefeated.
In a sport where... Frank was discussing earlier, everyone gets a few losses. He has no losses.
Nope.
Wow.
So, and if he can put on that weight, now, I don't know what Jon Jones
I don't think he has to put on too much weight, to be honest.
You don't think so?
No, he walks around about 230. I honestly think as long as he shows up at 240, he's so physically strong. I trained with him for 2 years down in Albuquerque, and phenomenal strength as far as, I always make that type of strength. He's farm boy strong. One day we were doing like a plyometric workout, and I outweigh him by 40 pounds, and I still jumped significantly higher than he did. We all did. Travis, Brown, Andre Arlovski. John actually had a horrible vertical. But if he grabs you, or I tell you, hey, hold on to this pole, don't let go, that dude, you can't get him off you. His static strength just to hold and grip somebody is unbelievable. So for wrestling and for that aspect of MMA, it really pays off. And his fight with Francis, I think that it's Francis has the power to touch anybody and put them lights out, obviously. But Jon is able to keep up a high pace of fight, which I think that's always counterproductive for Francis, because he's just a pure sprinter. So explosive, so ungodly strong, but that comes with a price. His muscular endurance is not that great. So if you watch his first fight with Miocic, the former champ, it was a high-paced first round, and Francis then teetered off, but he's so mentally strong, he was able to stay in the fight for 4 more rounds, but he was physically washed. In their second fight, because he was able to stop the takedown from Stipe. Stipe, I think, only threw 5 punches in the whole first round, so for 5 minutes. Francis can fight at that pace all day long. If you're going to throw just a few punches here and there, he's a powerhouse. That's not going to hurt him. It's not going to tax his cardio. Whereas Jon is so flexible and so good at kicking, I think he'll be able to keep up a higher pace of fighting at a safe distance. And if Francis jumps in too quickly to land a lead hook or a backhand cross, Jon grabs him. And if Jon grabs him, and it's over with. You know what I mean? Francis isn't stopping Jon's takedowns,
It's interesting, Jon Jones, because I always I like studying guys with real thin calves. Because I have
he does. His calves,
Great calf
his
sense.
calves are bigger than his ankles.
And he's super strong, though, and it's weird. You guys don't know this about me, but I have that weird leverage strength, and it's a strange thing. It's not to do with muscles or muscle size or anything. It's just about, I think it has to do with balance.
Muscle insertions.
He uses all of his body. That's the whole thing.
And he has like a pretty crazy wingspan, right?
Yeah, and it's just
84-inch
but
reach or
you'll
something, 82.
see it's kind of it's a weird thing. I know. I always compare it to if you see Darryl Strawberry swing a baseball bat. It's his whole, or Thomas Hearns throw a right cross.
Yeah.
It's his whole body is pivoting.
Strawberry uncoiled.
He uncoils, right? Where you'd see the guys, the sort of the Pete Rose guys with big forearms and stuff like that.
Tight.
It was this. Yeah, Steve Garvey. It was all their upper body. They didn't have to use. They had strength,
Right.
So they didn't need to use all parts of the buffalo. But when you see John, he just sees his entire body engaged. So it's weird. It's like, is he stronger or is he using a bigger percentage of his body?
John's wrestled for a long time. He's the middle child of two studs that were in the NFL. So I think that he's used to, being pushed around by, so it built up his strength at a young age. But what you're speaking to, and the reason why sometimes you see those guys in the gym or girls who just look much stronger than what they should be. I mean, you see someone, benching 300 pounds, you expect to see, 18-inch arms. And you can see sometimes, I just watched a 145-pound woman bench press 300 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, so but it's tendon insertion. Some of it's a lot of it is genetic gifts. And I tell people it's like this. If I'm going to grab a broomstick that's dug into the ground, think that's like your bicep. If I hold high up on the stick or far from the fulcrum point, my leverage is phenomenal, super strong. If I hold lower, it's like kind of holding a baseball at the very tip. It's heavier. I have less leverage. So it's a lot of things when people look at that, I go, oh, it's your tendon insertions. Certain areas where your muscles and tendons insert on your bones, it varies from person to person, and your tendon insertions are beneficial here for X, Y, or Z, whatever sport you're involved in.
Wow, that's a hell of an analysis, by the way. I'm glad I asked about the Jon Jones. Any predictions of when that fight might happen?
No. I'm bad at that part. I'm great at breaking down fights. If you want to watch a fight with me, I'll tell you what both guys are thinking, what's going on, what they're about to do, why they're doing it, what this guy needs to do. But you're like, hey, so-and-so said this about so-and-so. I'm like, I have no clue. I'm not a Housewives of MMA guy. I'm sorry.
I'd watch that show. Don't go out in those boots. Let me tell you about Podium. Everything is on demand these days. Big movie releases at home, curbside pickup for groceries and delivery. And that's why more than 90,000 local businesses have turned to Podium. Podium makes doing business as easy as sending a text, answering questions, collecting reviews, scheduling appointments or delivery. Payment collection, just send a text. A car dealership, by the way, a dealer just sold a $50,000 truck, and in 4 text messages, they got it sold. Local service professionals, a dentist in New York had a $1 million in overdue collections. He sent everyone a text payment request and collected $700,000 of it in only 2 weeks. It is Podium, right, Dawson?
Today's customers expect on-demand everything, even from local businesses. Stay ahead of the competition with Podium. They have free plans for growing businesses, plus all the power growing businesses need to scale. Get started today for free at podium.com/Adam. That's podium.com/Adam.
I should mention that the company is BioAccelerator for the stem cell. How much approximately is it?
You got to get Eric Stafers on here. He'll be able to explain. Software's much smarter than I am for the different prices, just because it just depends from vary to vary. But I mean, $4,000 or $5,000 for a treatment is roundabout idea for a single joint, to give anybody an idea.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Frank, hang in. We'll do the news right after this.
Give me the news with crack, news with Gina Grad, breaking, viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad, stuff they saw on TMZ, Joe Biden, Kamala. Meet news with Gina Grad.
news with Gina Grad.
Well, this is something we talked about a lot last year and some predictions. Unfortunately, they were correct. COVID caused damage in a lot of ways in 2020. One of them is with drug overdoses. CBS News reports that 93,000 Americans died of drug ODs last year. That's 21,000 more than the previous high. Experts say that lockdown further isolated people dealing with addiction, mental issues, and coronavirus restrictions made it harder to get treatment. There's a sociologist, Shannon Monat at Syracuse University, says there's no evidence that drug use actually increased last year. She says these were the two problems, according to her. The increased presence of fentanyl in the drug supply, not just in opioids, and eviction moratoriums and increased unemployment benefits left addicts with more money to buy drugs. Experts say the proliferation of fentanyl means that overdose deaths probably won't drop this year either.
Fentanyl's evil, and I guess it comes in from Mexico, and I guess they set up Chinese labs there, and it's weird. I don't know. I always feel weird that we're living, when you got hold of me in 1985, you would have been, what is life like in 2021? I'd be like, utopia, there's a monorail, flying cars, out of problems. No, it's going to be Mexico and mules and fentanyl and people living in shitty apartments that were built in the 30s.
People turning is not criminals. Your average drug user that that has an addiction problem, they're not themselves detrimental to society. They're a victim themselves. I feel bad for them. And then here there's somebody who's a drug addict who has problems, is causing strain on their family, and they think they're just taking, something that like they shouldn't be taking, but again, because it's black market, and now they're dying from these choices, which again, they're not healthy choices, but at the same time, that's like, if randomly people just died from eating a cheeseburger they shouldn't eat, instantly, it's like, well, that's still like, it's bad. I feel, but I feel the crime definitely isn't worse, the punishment.
Yeah, everyone's dying with the fentanyl, and then also
don't take much.
They're bootlegging all this stuff, and they're branding it, and you can't tell what's the real pills from the fake pills.
That's what happened to the one guy. He gave his daughter. She had like a headache. He gave her one of these pain pills that he thought was a regular, that he had bought a script from somebody type thing. Well, this came from a pharmacy. Someone sold me their script, and they were actually bootleg pain pills, and so it killed his daughter.
Jesus.
Yeah,
you imagine you got to live with that the rest of your life.
Also, just, it's just a weird, I always think about people who are in the business. Like, what do? I make bootleg pharmaceuticals. I have a lab in Mexico. Like, it's just like, I don't know. You wonder, like, where's the humanity in it? Like, I'm not saying everyone should be Mother Teresa, but, like, at a certain
no harm.
You just kind of go like, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, yes, and a few years ago in Kansas City, and my mom knew this story very well. I had only heard of it recently from a podcast, that there was a pharmacist at this, next to the hospital in Kansas City, and for whatever reason, I think it ended up obviously being money related, was giving chemo to cancer patients only a third full and the rest with like water in it or something.
Oh, wow.
And they couldn't figure out why none of these cancer patients were having side effects, and they thought it was a miracle. They stumbled upon this new, chemo mixture that doesn't give you side effects. Well, they weren't getting treatment. They all died. I mean,
he was stepping on it.
Was he reselling it?
I'm in the middle of the podcast, but it was money related. Okay. He was getting money. Yeah. It's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'd like to make $1 like the next guy, but if the idea that I'm directly causing misery and death
to cancer patients,
you know what I mean? It's like, hey, I like my kids in private school too, but at a certain point, I got to go to sleep at night.
Exactly.
Just scam your insurance company, have some dignity.
Right.
iTunes, they have the categories. They got like, comedy and scripted and whatever. They should just have one called Freaking Out the Bitches.
They do. It's called True Crime.
It'd all be true crime, and this guy's cancer treatment. My mom's undergoing chemo treatment. Oh my God.
You better go with her next time.
You better sniff that shit.
You better taste that shit. Like a good fellas, puts on his tongue.
That's right.
We all know that that's what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Jussie Smollett, we haven't heard that name in a while, maintained his innocence on his way to court yesterday as you hear this, in Chicago, where he faces renewed charges over the alleged 2019 hate crime incident. Smollett told Fox News.
Only 2019?
I know.
Shit,
that he's innocent.
That was like 10 years ago.
While entering, 2020 was like
Yeah,
57
that's a
months
really
long.
good point.
Referring to the proceedings as a dog and pony show, he was charged again with 6 counts of felony misconduct for allegedly lying to police about a racist, homophobic attack he claims was perpetrated against him. He arrived in court. Judge is going to hear both sides, probably hear something by tomorrow. I'm sure Mark has thoughts.
I'm going to talk to him later today.
That'd be great.
I should ask him about that. Also, as far as the
by now-
homophobic attacks, I know those guys walk a little differently, but how can we really tell that it's a homophobic attack? You know what I mean? Like the racist attack.
Oh, wait,
It's
are we
a
talking
black-
about the gay vest again?
That's a black guy. Well, we need to. This is what I'm working toward. We need a gay vest. I'm
Right.
saying.
So glad you weren't here for that part.
It was a racist, homophobic attack,
Right.
but you just, it's a racist attack.
Right.
I mean, if it is,
Well-
it's a hoax. But the point is you don't,
Right.
you
How
wouldn't
do we
know if
know?
a guy was gay.
That's true.
I can tell.
Maybe
but
halfway
most
through the
folks
beginning,
can't.
they figured out the way he was yelling, like, oh, bonus. I got a
Yeah.
hate crime on top of my racial crime.
We're living in a good time when there's more racial hoaxes than there are
Yeah.
actual racial crimes.
That's good
so
news.
Good news.
Yeah. And as we record this, I mean, it's quitting time in Chicago, so they have to know something by now, I would think.
Yeah.
The Tokyo Olympics will look different in a lot of ways, not just no spectators, which we already knew. The International Olympic Committee president, Thomas Bach, said there will be no handshaking and there will be no hugs. Bach also added that the medals you win, you have to put around your own neck. So no pomp, no circumstance, no fanfare. Athletes, media, and sponsors are the only foreigners allowed at the games. And again, I guess they just, hand you the medal on at the end of a broomstick.
I think that's a part that frustrates a lot of people that are critical thinkers. They're like, okay, that just doesn't follow. It makes no sense. You know how many times I'm tired because my daughter just won nationals for wrestling, right? She's the first national champion from Nevada.
Wow.
And after every match, after these girls wrestle with each other and they announce the winner, normally after a wrestling match, you shake hands and the winner gets their hand raised. Now they don't shake hands.
They were
Now-
just rubbing up against each other.
I was about to say that.
Breathing in each other's mouths.
Exactly. The look on your guys' faces is how I was. I was like, wait a minute. So they can't shake hands? No, don't shake hands. The referee just points to which one they raise their hand. I don't know if you've been watching the last 4 or 5 minutes. But
That sweat is now
shaking
part of-
hands is probably the least,
Right.
physical contact they've had in this whole, 6-minute match. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is obviously the part that gets maddening is, I think you hear certain things like you go, well, if everyone's in church and they're all singing out loud and they're packed into this area and there's not proper ventilation and everyone's raising their voice for the Lord, you go, yeah, I could see breaking that up. But walking on the beach, and this is the thing, I just was at the beach. And I actually sent you a picture, I think, Max Zapata, of this. They put the police tape back around the fucking jungle gym that's out in the middle of the sand at
What?
the beach club.
Again?
So
Yes.
outdoor sunshine and exercise is
Gonna kill us all.
That's it. It's
That's just dumb. See what I mean about consistency?
This is why I hate everyone. Like, just fucking be consistent, you retards.
I agree.
It's like, oh, there's a Delta variant, then someone just tells them, go put the police tape around the. I mean, of course, 7-year-olds playing outdoors in the ocean, in front of the ocean, on the sand would be about the healthiest thing you could do. Instead,
deadly.
it's like, go back home and shut the door of your apartment.
Hunker down.
Well,
But
even with the things like the
fucking
coffee
dumb.
shops, you close down a coffee shop that's a mom and pop because they have like maybe 30, 40 people go through there in the morning. But yet I can walk, 500 people an hour walking into Costco. I'm like, wait a minute. So is this a bad thing that we're all hanging out? Like what's going on here? Like
it's a fuzzy math.
Yeah, I'm like, well, why is this guy screwed and this guy's not? I'm like, it's people in numbers. Well, there's a greater amount of numbers on this direction. Well, no, but that's okay there. I'm all, I guess, okay.
Yeah, they need to get a little more consistent. But again, they fucked everything 10 ways to Sunday. It's like, after you get your vaccination, dignitaries, leaders, president, take your fucking mask off. You want people to get vaccinated? Don't walk around outdoors with your mask elbow bumping other dignitaries when you've all been vaccinated,
Or
you
being
fucking
on a
idiots.
Zoom call.
Or Zoom calls with your fucking... Kamala Harris was kissing her masked, vaccinated husband on a tarmac through a mask a month and a half ago. Like, Jesus Christ.
Like something like that right there. I'm like, so you're telling me that you guys, like, that's like, what are you doing at home?
Yeah,
like,
that's as
there's
far
no
as it
intimacy,
goes.
right? Like, so, like, you know, I'm like, well, hold on a second. So you got to wear a mask to kiss him. You're being you're social distancing from your spouse.
You share
the one
bed
that you're
with
probably banging tonight, right? Yeah, like hopefully. I mean, you know, like
Yeah.
If all goes well.
With a strap on. I know those two. I can sense it. The point is this. Like, her thing is like, the reason I'm kissing my husband through a surgical mask on a tarmac after we've both been vaccinated is because I'm sending a message. But the message is you're a lying fucking retard.
it's a dumb message.
And it's a dumb message. And I don't know who it appeals to. Dumb people? Like, you want people to get vaccinated, tell them they can get vaccinated, and then they can go on
Here's
Air
your
Force
reward.
Two
Yeah,
and
show
make
us what
out
it
on the
looks like
tarmac.
after you get vaccinated.
Right. And then again, it's that all this thing is sort of like, well, we're putting the tape around this, or we're not letting the guy kayak in the bay alone because it's a message. But what is this message? That's the whole thing. And don't govern that way. Do things that make sense. Don't worry about sending all the messages.
Well, what level are they aiming at? Like, okay, who has to see that message to figure out that that's not dumb? You know what I mean? Like, so who are we pandering towards here in that situation? Like, I'm not a child. I feel almost it's kind of like, I got to be home at 10, so you tell well, no, at 9:30, because you're assuming I'm going to screw up and be late by a certain amount of time. Well, I mean, like, but who are you in the government to go ahead and make those judgment calls for me that you assume that I'm an idiot and that I have to be lied to because, okay, well, this isn't what's best for you, but because we know you're going to screw this up, we're going to go ahead and over-exaggerate certain aspects of this. No, just tell me how it is, man.
Yeah, well, maybe. I doubt we've learned a lesson, but... All right, let's do one more, Gina Grant.
All right. City officials in Burnsville, Minnesota would love people to stop putting their goldfish in the lake, and there are big reasons why. These pet goldfish, and we have pictures, are becoming these giant, there's a goldfish in a little goldfish bowl. They're becoming these giant
get that
monsters.
big? There's no way.
Yes.
You've heard the thing, the goldfish grows to the size of the wall. It's a fucking
Exactly.
lake.
That is a goldfish we're looking at. How many pounds would you say that is? A couple of pounds.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a nice sized trout, but it's bizarre because it looks like a goldfish.
Yes.
Now I'm wondering what they taste like.
You're a goldfish. During a water quality survey of this lake, Keller Lake, earlier this month, the Associated Press reports that 10 goldfish were discovered. On Monday, an additional 18 were found. Some were 18 inches long, weighed 4 pounds. The city's official Twitter account said, please don't release your pet goldfish into ponds and lakes. They grow bigger than you think and contribute to poor water quality, mucking up the bottom sediments and uprooting plants. They're
don't
monstrous.
you flush them down the toilet when you're done with them, or is that just when they die?
That's when they die.
But
This is the humane thing to do.
But if you flush them, are they still going to end up in the,
They're
bay?
That's a good point.
In a filter somewhere?
Probably Minnesota.
I don't know. I kind of like the fella that goes, I'm going to liberate my goldfish. Like, my daughter went off to college.
Yeah.
Mr. Guppy's not gone with
Right.
her.
Go be
I'm
free.
tired of feeding him.
Had enough of this shit.
Going down to the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of investment in time because personally, I'd have been like, all right, I'm flushing it. I mean, for you to get in your car and drive it all the way to the lake, you're a pretty humane human being, I guess. I mean, it's sad that it works out not in the benefit, but you're trying to. But the intention's there.
Yeah, it's burning a lot of calories.
Your heart was in the right place.
I think your heart was in the right place.
And you just thought the thing would be eaten by carp by this afternoon. You didn't know it was going to grow to 5 pounds.
Invasive species,
Yeah, right.
It's Minnesota. They'll land up 10,000 lakes. They couldn't find a smaller lake to put it in?
Yeah. Or now that we know this is how they roll, koi are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money on a koi.
Yes.
Why not get a goldfish pond going?
That's smart.
Save yourself some bucks.
That is genius.
Yeah, those things are crazy expensive, right? I mean, you could.
And they look exactly the
15,
same.
20 grand on a koi fish. I'm like, wait, say that again?
Yeah.
That fish right there is $25,000. I'm like, it's a fish.
Yeah, this you get for free at the county fair. Comes in a baggie. You bring it home. You stock your koi pond
Just
with
need a
it.
big enough tank.
It's almost indistinguishable.
Yeah.
It's the same color.
Yeah, they're the same color.
Yeah. Poor man's
That's why
koi.
at first when you first pulled it up, I'm like, okay, it's a hoax.
No.
There has to be some version of a koi fish or something. There's no way that goldfish get that big.
Also,
My 4 Pound Life, the reality show for a goldfish.
yeah.
In America, even our goldfish are fat.
A good note to go out on, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
I beat her with a boot.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Today's show brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today, and the professional parts people help you find the exact battery for your vehicle. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts, or you can visit them at O'ReillyAuto.com. Going to be in doing shows in Raleigh, I should say. North Carolina coming up this weekend. You go to AdamCarolla.com. Still a couple of tickets left. They're going fast. You go to AdamCarolla.com for all live shows. I'm going everywhere and doing live shows. I should say for Frank, you can check out the CBD brand, American Shaman, and, of course, Bio Accelerator as well. And go to his website, Frank Mir. It's MIR.com. Frank, fun, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself. Thanks. Great conversation.
I completely concur. And until next time, Adam Carolla for Vinnie Tortorich, Frank Mir, Gina Grad, and Bull Bryan. Say it. Mahalo.
The first nut is the best nut.